at the last session of 2 weeks faculty development program. Today we have great privilege to have Dr. Mani Madhukar sir with us. He has around 12 years of experience with the exposure of both industry and the academia. As a part of ecosystem development team at IBM, he works with the ISV and the startup towards adoption of IBM Cloud. His current focus is identifying, working with the companies with blockchain-based solutions and assist them with the Hyperledger and IBM Lumix services. He represents IBM in various forums as a speaker, panelist on technology area like clouds, blockchain, IoT, Watson. He is a mentor to blockchain community in Bangalore, supporting community sessions on IBM blockchain and the Hyperledger and IBM Cloud. In his current role in ecosystem development team at IBM, he assists enterprises, startups, incubators in adoption to IBM technologies by conducting mentoring, enablement sessions, and hackathons. He has authored few publications in the area of machine learning, managed recommender systems, sentimental analysis in various national and international journals of index with the SCI and the Scopus. Today's survey enlightening us upon the academics in the Industry 4.0. Now I request Sir to take over the session and I enlightening us with your great knowledge and experience. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mani.
Sir, good afternoon. How are you, Sir, Dr. Huda?
All your best wishes and welcome once again to Bharati Vidyapit and for this MPP program.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much
It's always
for
a pleasure
spending
joining you.
valuable time to share your experience with all the participants from different parts of the country and abroad.
Sure,
So
sir.
welcome. You are welcome to deliver your talk. Please.
Yeah. Just an upgrade to my role in IBM. A couple of years back, year and a half back, I moved to the university relations team in IBM, and I'm basically managing program, in that team now. So I'm not working with the startups anymore as I was working in my previous role, but then I'm actually working with academia now. We have a program which is focused on universities, which I am working on now. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure having you today. And I really, wish we have a fruitful couple of hours session, And today in the conversation, I'll take you. I'm sure you all understand, but how is this really impacting people in academia, or what should be the role of academia in terms of pivoting their goalposts is what is important, and that's what I'll be talking about in next, whatever minutes I have. Okay, so let's try and understand more about this, and please bear with me if the response is slow. This is all you are quite familiar, right? About what was Industry 1.0, where we, sort of had all these industrial revolution, all the typical machines, steam power, all that actually came in from that first industrial revolution. Now that was majorly powered by, the mechanical boom, right? The mechanical engineering, a couple of other things like thermodynamics was powering it. We used to have those boilers coming up in different, ways, which were really powering all those, equipments. And the steam power was the driving force behind that first industrial revolution, right? Then came the electrical energy, right, which really again changed the way we used to do businesses big time. And hence the second industrial revolution, sort of hinged around industries which could, start utilizing electrical energy in whatever possible ways. And if you see that, from the production, we actually moved towards the mass production sort of approach. That was second industrial revolution, which started sometime around 1870s and onwards, right? Then came the third one, right, which was more powered by all those PLCs and more like electronics driven, right? Something around 1969, 1970. That was the time when electronics was really, sort of finding its way into almost everything. Now, as we're talking today, everything is electronics driven. Be it our, refrigerators, microwaves, whatever you name of, they're all actually, have some other way of, chip driving it. Some part of code is there. And then we have the fourth industrial revolution, which is more focused towards what we call as cyber physical systems, right? we'll dig into this particular approach and we'll try to understand why is it important for us to understand this. What are the ramifications of fourth industrial revolution and all, right? So if you focus on the fourth industrial revolution, which started sometime around 2014, we sort of moved from electronics and electrical systems to more on automation of systems. I will give you a simple example, right? So let's say we have been writing codes, we have been writing software for 10 n number of things in last 20, 30 years, right? Now there is already a program existing. Let's say your college automation, your college management systems, right? Your fee management, admission management, all those. You have a solution, you have a software for that, right? So there is no scope of writing a software for that because it's already existing. You're already using a system, right? But then what there is, of course, the scope is. But then if you don't develop the software, means that many people who have been working in that industry will go out of job. Now, how do they reinvent themselves? How do they actually reinvent themselves? That's what is essential in any job, in any particular area. So what people moved on was they actually sort of got towards something called as automation, process automation. Okay, so wherein you find the code and you automate certain segments of code, and you also reduce the redundancy in the code. So you actually increasing the performance of the code, right? Now, what you do that you do code optimization. Now, you can't rewrite the entire software, right? But then you can definitely do the code optimization, which can again be, sort of a job for people. So the way your vendor who had given you this college management system, maybe he can come up with a new version saying that this is a more optimized code. Some more functionalities are built in on top of this. This can integrate to your social media. This can integrate to your email systems, which may not have been the case earlier, right? So that's what the new generation, the fourth generation, is basically more about providing that automation to the components, right? And from a manufacturing point of view, if you say, then it's more like embedding all those sensors, all those analytics, so getting all of that integrated together, right? So that's what we term as continuous industry transformation, which basically talks about more customization, more personalization, increasing the efficiency, right? That's what is the future of actually the workforce, right? And you do that by all those upcoming technology integration. I would not say upcoming, I would say recent technologies integration into it. So be it robotics, be it 3D printing, IoT, cognitive systems, you're all familiar with that. I don't have to dig into it, right? But typically, this is stacked across. You have to have those innovative accelerators, right? Now, if you go and you look around yourself, you will find there has been some sort of a disruption happening in last few years, be in terms of the way businesses have been done, more in terms of COVID-19, right? Nobody would have ever thought that this can be such a challenge present to humanity, that how will people sustain in this era. Have you ever thought in last, you have been teaching for n numbers of years now, have you ever thought that you'll be giving complete online trainings, complete online presentations to your classes, or you would be evaluating them online? I'm not sure if you ever thought of that, right? Never even an iota of thought crossed anybody. Exams will be happening online, everything will be online, right? So colleges, for that matter, have become redundant. Classrooms, labs have become redundant, right? So that's what is those disruption. This is a disruption, though it's not automatic, but then this is forced. This is forced because of the situation which COVID pandemic has created for us. And the good piece is we have learned and we have imbibed a lot of things because of that, right? We have really quickly adopted to it. That's what's the beauty here. So, all of these innovative accelerators are technology driven, right? Be it cloud, be it mobility, be it big data analytics, be it blockchain, be it edge computing, all of those are basically those contributing elements which drive this acceleration, right? So let's try and understand, right, where do we fit into this overall scheme of things? We as an academia fits into overall scheme of things, right? Now, we understand this, that what is 4.0 bringing to us. It's basically transforming the operationality of whatever business process we had been doing by integrating what technology, processes, organizations together, right, in some way or the other. But what is really important is this industry 4.0 is based out of three major pillars, Okay, three major pillars. One, we call it as, the people, okay, which is the most important component here. Two, we basically talk about the processes, right? Because we're talking about connected things, connected cars, connected devices, maybe cognitive in nature. Third is we are basically talking about, incorporating all those cherries on the cake, right? We call it analytics, we call it robotics, and all those stuff, right? So Industry 3.0 produced and gave us a very, spongy cake, a tasty, fresh cake. But what 4.0 brought us was it basically gave us all those toppings there, right? That layer of cream there, that layer of chopped maybe pineapples there, that layer of cherries there, right? That's what is the 4.0 actually is bringing. It's not that it's changing the underneath things, but then at the top it is really adding a lot of value, right? In terms of integrating those technology and getting more value out of what you're doing. That's what is the 4.0. But if you see, the important component is there, the people, right? Now, unless talent, the people that you are churning out, unless they conform to what is required in 4.0, 4.0 will not, be as successful the way it is supposed to be. By the way, the content today which I am presenting to you is basically sourced from multiple places. IDC is another. There are a few Gartner reports which is there. Then there is World Economic Forum from which I have pulled in a few content. So it's basically amalgamation of multiple places. Okay. So as I was talking to you, right? So 4.0 has multiple things, multiple components into it, right? So be it IoT, autonomous systems, the analytics part, cognitive part, manufacturing is really, got a lot more impacted because of 4.0, integration of those manufacturing systems have been upgraded, automated for that matter, using all or many of these technologies that we're talking about, right? And and the core of all this is again IoT, and I would say more like cloud, right? Because cloud is the enabling technology which is binding all of them together, right? So be it IoT, be it robotics, be it cognitive systems, be it mobility, whatever you name of, cloud is actually a binding figure here, binding technology here, right? So that's what 4.0 is basically a lot of things put together, right? And so let's try and dig into more about, what is this maturity which 4.0 is bringing, what is it powered by, right? So one, I'm not sure if you would have that experience, but let me share a story. Long back, I was actually working in a process plant. Now, just to explain what a process plant is, a process plant, normally in a manufacturing industry, what happens is, you will have multiple stages of different people doing different things, right? But in a process plant, once the plant is started, right, you cannot shut down the plant. The production is continuous, okay? And even if there is one single point of failure, the entire plant comes to a standstill. The reason is it's a process plant. All the processes are connected. So process one's output is an input to process two. Process third's input is output of process two, and so on and so forth, right? So let's say somebody who is manufacturing these silica sheets, right? So it's an entire plant, right? It's a big plant which is almost semi-automated in those days. But the problem is the moment one of the parameters like temperature or cooling or something fluctuates at some place, the quality of the silicon sheet which is coming out of it actually deteriorates. The moment that happens, the entire plant has to be shut because the quality of the product coming out does not conform to the standards, right? So there is no point creating a product which will not be, you'll not be able to sell, right? So what we'll do is we'll actually close. And the moment you close the plant, the entire plant has to be cleaned thoroughly because all those molten silica will clog all those, be it channels, rollers, filtration plants, whatever you talk about, right? Coming back to this, we're talking about a more, mature environment with 4.0, more digitally mature environment with 4.0, where there is a very strong integration of those sensors and those analytics built on top of those sensor data, right? Now, coming back to the same example which I was giving you, the moment one of my sensors is malfunctioning or it started to malfunction or it started to go beyond a threshold, right? So my strong analytics engine at the same time can take me to a corrective procedure rather than, rather than I have to have something like I have to shut down the system and do it. I will actually take a corrective, approach right there, the maybe next moment, next instance, so that the plant does not has to undergo that shutdown, right? And hence that analytics, that sensor-driven approach, that automation of those process adds a lot more value, right? It gives a lot of flexibility, it gives a lot of adaptability, and of course the performance definitely increases, right? So a more digitally mature industry environment is what we are looking forward with all those digital working approaches, robotics, automation, and top-down approach of automation for that matter, right? Okay, let's go further, right? So as I was telling you earlier, Industry 4.0 has three key drivers. Okay, one, the performance, because that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to optimize, as I gave you the example of the college management system, right? Two, the condition, means condition of the quality of the product that you are delivering, the condition of the employees that you are actually I'm not sure you would have heard of this, but then a lot of companies today are focusing on mental well-being of their employees, a lot of them. They are basically providing you with coupons, with subscriptions to a lot of these web-based mental well-being sites, apps, which will help you sort of de-stress yourself, which will help you keep your mind healthy, right? Now, why that? Because the point is, unless you are happy, you are healthy, it will be very difficult to get that optimum performance from you. It will be very difficult to get a quality performance from you, right? You may be able to do your job, but then that will be like run of the mill type jobs, which nobody wants. Everybody wants a good, good effort, good outcome of any job, right? So that's one. And third is, of course, the customer engagement. Now, let's try and understand from an academia point of view. I would not like to use, but then that's what is the harsh reality, right? We also have customers. You also have customers, right? And your customer is what? Of course, the student that you're teaching. Of course, we do not say that it is he or she is a customer, but then at the end, it's basically sort of indicative, symbolic. And eventually, this is only one industry in which the customer comes back and pays gratitude to you. He says sir or ma'am, right? Whereas otherwise, wherever you go to any industry and you are trying to sell out something, it is you who end up saying sir to your customer. So this is where is the flip side. You are in a very noble profession where people are coming back to you and gracing you, giving you that gratitude of what you are doing for them, right? So three things: performance, condition, and customer engagement. Now, for you, unless that particular student you're teaching, you're grooming, does not fits into the requirements of the outside world, the customer engagement will not be that good. Why? Because the moment he walks out of the college or a university and he is not fitting into the things, he will not bring in a positive perspective. I'm sure you will agree with that, right? So all of these, that's the reason you have got so much more mechanisms of feedback, getting a feedback from the students, giving having those students on board of various curriculum development initiatives, or maybe getting those students to create events for themselves. That's all is customer engagement, right? You basically want to engage them in more productive way, more positive way, right? So for 4.0, if you talk about it, it has three drivers. One, the performance, the condition of either the quality of the product or the employees, and third is the customer engagement. These are the three things there, right? Let's try and get into these, each of these. All of these three are basically based upon, we call them 7 strategic priorities. Okay, let's try to understand them briefly before we move on further, right? So nothing better than the times of COVID-19 to understand this infograph, right? Now, the way digital has penetrated, learning, you cannot have imagined it even maybe 6 months back. When you were starting this session in January, you would have never ever thought the entire learning, entire evaluation, everything is going to be digital in 2020. Nobody would have thought that, right? So much so that I see so many friends of my academic fraternity. Every day they are actually part of one or two webinars, or either attending sessions or delivering sessions in some place, and coming back with those posts on social media, different social media handles, right? So digital innovation has really penetrated big time into us. And of course, people who were averse to learning new things maybe till end of 2019, with all this COVID and being staying at home, they have really become very agile to adopt to new technologies, learning of new technologies, using of new technologies. You bet 60 to 70% of people would not have used all these mediums that you're using, WebEx, Zoom, Microsoft Team meeting, whatever. You may not have been using all that. And today, almost, I would say, if not 100%, then 99% of people are actually using it as far as academic fraternity is concerned, right? A lot of us used to be working in isolated environments, in silos, right? So whatever I'm creating, let's say I'm creating a presentation, so that presentation will sit on my laptop, and I will use it for some presentation, delivering it somewhere. But in today's scenario, you see a lot of sharing happen. You see a lot of collaboration happening between people who are never connected to each other. Now that has all happened because of digitized assets, because of you being more agile, because of more digital innovation, which has penetrated the overall scheme of things. That's the reason why of all of that has happened, right? And of course, now uh, think of a scenario, right? Let's say you have already started your classes, and theoretically you can definitely teach it online, no issues with that. But then when it comes to labs, and I'm not referring to actually computer science based labs, I'm actually referring to other labs, electrical, electronics, mechanical, civil, so many others, right? How do you actually make them do the labs now? So uh, some 6 months back, this would not have been possible at all, right? Because they actually had to come to the physical infrastructure to leverage those labs, but not today anymore, right? This situation has created such a unique opportunity for everyone of us, that almost all the labs that were being done in the confines of a laboratory are now being done online on cloud. So be you simulate the civil engineering equipment, civil engineering environment on the cloud, or you simulate your CNCs for a mechanical engineer so that he can do that, drilling, or whatever, processes, manufacturing processes. So this, and they actually, or maybe you're using a augmented reality approach where you are putting up a headset and you are trying to give him that feeling of that preciseness when he's operating, doing some operation, right? And this can be so many more. So the idea I'm trying to put across is 4.0 has really integrated a lot of these strategic priorities which were not there, which were not taken the way it is now. And this scenario which I'm talking about in COVID has really given us an opportunity. I'm sure you will see a lot of more changes coming up in next few months, right? Now we have all accepted that we will not be able to go to the colleges or universities in another 2 months or 3 months, right? And maybe even more. You never know, right? The way it is happening in other parts of the globe, Beijing, you see a recurrence of the COVID again, right? And it can happen any place, even in India. The point I'm trying to make is it may also be possible that even 6 months down the lane, we may never ever actually be able to host the students in the campuses. So we'll have to find an alternative mechanism so that we keep them teaching, and we keep them teaching effectively, not just teaching effectively, right? So that their academic time is utilized and they are able to gain what they're supposed to be learning otherwise in a offline model. Yeah. So that's what all of these integrated together really put up 4.0 in a perspective that we are experiencing today, right? And if you see it from all of these, technology is a very important key factor there, no doubt, right? Unless you have all these AI, analytics, machine learning, big data analytics, blockchain, cloud, all of that, unless you have all in places, this will not at all work. But more than that, you have people there. You have, people, resources, which is more important, right? And hence, in subsequent slides, I will talk about where you need to be really very active about how can you contribute to the overall picture of this system, and how you can really impact the changes because of 4.0, right? So I'll move on further, and these are a couple of a snapshot of the policies across, if you say ISA, right, India, Southeast Asia, and maybe Australia, right? Where most of these companies, most of these countries have in some way or the other laid emphasis on something, right? So this particular slide is drawn from an IDC report, which basically talks about how specific countries are catering to, integration of technology in various segments. And I have a few case studies towards the end of my discussion today. So in India, in 2014, we said, Make in India initiative, right? And we said We'll try to make India a hub of manufacturing. And when you say that, the manufacturing is multifaceted. It basically talks about integration of all the latest technologies today, right? China has been doing it for and post that China came up with Made in China. You know how Trump has been vocal about everything for US and so on. It's happening across the globe. Every country is in some way or the other integrating all those policies which 4.0 brings to the table in some way or the other, so that they can uh, enhance their overall product, overall produce, right? If you see from an enablement point of view, these are a couple of just technologies, guys, which people have been really finding interesting and really finding the ones which have contributed to adoption of 4.0. And this report is again from IDC, but then this talks more about Asia Pacific, right, between 2018 to 2020. If you see there, right from cloud, mobility, big data analytics, machine to machine communication, IoT, robotics, AR, VR, cognitive, 3D printing. The ones which you see in a light gray is the time period of 2018. Compared to that, when you see the time period of 2020, you'll see a bar or a graph which is escalated. You will see how people have actually increased to the adoption of these new technologies in their in processes in some other way. Think on other lines as well, right? A few years, nobody would have thought that a BTech in computer science with a specialization in AI or a cloud would have been anything. BTech in computer science was good enough to actually get a job and get hands-on learning. But today we talk about what? We talk about these niche areas where we are developing very focused skills, right? We say big data, BTech in cloud with the specialization in mainframes, or we say MS in data science, right? Or we say masters in all of these areas that we're talking about, right? So what has happened is over a period of time we have really understood the need that we need to develop deeper skills in one or more of these areas, right? So when I say mobility, I cannot leave out cloud, maybe, right? Or when I say IoT, maybe I cannot leave out mobility, right? Because it is integrated in some other way, right? So, and let's try and understand something about the emerging job markets because of all of this. Now, these are a couple of excerpts which have been pulled from the World Economic Forum, which talks about new emerging job markets and how we can sort of map it back to Industry 4.0. Now, if you see this, we're talking about from the the professions of the future point of view. Okay, uh, so in 2020, and by the way, these numbers are going to change. The reason is this study was pre-COVID era. Because of COVID, things have drastically changed. We all know this, and the way it is changed, these will only multiply. These numbers are not going to go down; they will actually go further up, right? Because of all the churn which is happening in the market, right? Reskilling is happening in the market. People are actually losing their jobs. A lot of automation is happening, in some way or the other. A lot of new jobs are getting created, right? So the churn is happening, and this information is basically collated from a couple of places like Burning Glass, LinkedIn, a few more places, right? Now, what it projects is out of 10,000 opportunities, in 2020, you will see 500 plus in, one or more of these areas, professional areas, right? So be it data and AI, be it engineering, cloud computing, be it people and culture or product development or a sales marketing, right? And all of these are basically clubbed in two more economies. We say it as care economy and green economy. So I'll not going to go into the details of that, but the point I'm trying to make is these numbers are definitely going to increase in due course of time in 2020 as we talk about. And this is just a projection, by the way, right? Now let's try and more understand more about, because these days all of us have been into online learning deeply. So when you talk about care-based professions, right? Now, if you see in healthcare, there has been a lot of penetration of technology, right? Very, very strongly, and more so because of COVID pandemic, right? uh, uh, Healthcare, which was initially very hesitant in adopting to those access control mechanism for saving the user data, they are now more open to adopt either a blockchain based solution or some way of some mechanism to control how people are accessing your data. Why? Because now the data is being generated from wearables, lot of wearables that you are putting. If you're in a hospital, that there are a lot of sensors which are being put around you, which are generating data. how you utilize the data, how the pharma companies, how the pathology labs, how the hospital chains are going to utilize the data. So there is a lot of adoption of technology which has already happened in place, right? And hence, care profession is one area where we see a lot of scope. And these are just a couple of points which we'll talk about some additional learning amongst online part, and these are a few emerging areas, job areas in this. And what are the top skills required? This may not be relevant for all of us, but then I thought of bringing this up because there may be people on this call who may not be from engineering background. They may be from some other background as well, right? And hence I thought this slide will definitely make sense for them. So if you see, there had been physiologists working there earlier as well, right? But then no, the more focus of, because there is no more man-to-man contact, human contact, right? So more simulation is being utilized these days into physiology, right? Similarly, if you see there, the all those medical records, transcriptions, or medical services over telephone or video calling has been a lot more prominent in these days, because hospitals are not letting you have visit the letting patients visit the hospital these days, right? Especially non-COVID ones, right? So these mechanisms have a lot more adopted, a lot more being incorporated in our lifestyles today, right? Similarly, if you think about from a data and AI perspective, so far we have been talking about how do you tweak those hyperparameters, what is deep learning, ANN, convolutional neural networks, all that we have been learning about, right? But what is really, which is people have been actually learning these days more on the online, with the online approaches. How do you actually do that? Those maybe a time series, or maybe natural language processing, or maybe doing that omega language, or maybe doing that. How do you actually calculate the Bayesian interference? All of that stuff, right? So these are a couple of areas which have become really priority areas for people who are into data and AI domain, right? And if you see from the emerging areas which are there, new job roles has evolved, which were never there earlier. Earlier, you only used to have one thing, data scientist, right? That's what people used to say, right? But today we have understood, look, data scientist cannot be one person army. It has to be multiple people with multiple specific job roles, right? You have to be somebody who's a data engineer who will work on the data side of it, cleaning up data, maybe making the data more absorbable, making it more ingestible. And you need to have a data analyst, which is a separate role compared to what all people. You have an AI specialist who can understand what to derive of the data that you have actually put together. So there is all common of new job roles which have evolved in period of time. If you see, it's a good exhaustive list there on the emerging job side. And the top 10 skills basically talks about what sort of skills they need to have. And from your point of view, if you have to really succeed, you really need to marry the two, right? So you need to absorb these skills into your curriculum, into your learning, into the way you teach. Unless you do that, the talent that you're actually grooming may not be fit for the 4.0 revolution that we are talking about, right? So I'm sure you would already be knowing it. I'm just trying to reiterate that point, right? Similarly, if you talk about from a cloud computing point of view, right? So again, a couple of more things which have been added to it. If you see there, some more job roles have evolved, right? So earlier we used to have a person who was like a infrastructure specialist, so somebody who used to stay in a in a cloud center, cloud data center, a cloud-based data center, and who would take care of the infrastructure piece there, right? Now, with so much of burgeoning load on data centers, it's not possible for that one person to actually keep a track of it, right? So we have actually so many people now doing it, right? So there is a cloud engineer, there is a platform engineer, right? If you just leave the programming guys, so there is a site reliability engineer as well, right? And you have a cloud consultant as well. This is on the hardware infra side where I'm talking about. The moment you talk about the coding or the platform as a service side, there's so many other things. You have a full stack engineer, you have all the different types of developers, which you bring to the topic, back-end developers, front-end developers, DevOps engineers, technology analysts, and so many, right? The reason is with so many options of technology available, it's really very difficult to make a choice which is the optimal platform to develop the solution which I'm using it for, right? What should I be using? Which is the right way to do? What is the right way to do? And right, it can have multiple answers, right? So it derives its correct answer from the experiences, from the patterns people have been using it over the years, right? And therefore, if you see, the top 10 skills which are mapping to the emerging job roles in engineering and cloud computing, are somewhat different to what we saw in AI and data, skill sets there, right? So it basically talks about computer networking. Of course, it is there. It also talks about business management, which was not there earlier, right? It also talks about data storage technologies. It talks about development tools. It talks about integration of all those DevOps capabilities, which we're talking, which is not there earlier. So these are all new roles or emerging roles which need some skills which are very native or very, mapped to those only. Okay. Let's talk about a few things about the green professions, right? Where we all we have these different where we have all these different maybe it's groundwater things, because we need to be aware about our geography, geology, right? What is happening right next to us. So if you see, in these times, people have become more nature conservant. People are looking to conserve nature more than with what we used to do in 2019, 2018. People have become more sensitive towards people. People have become more sensitive towards nature, right? And hence, it is really important that we give it a more scientific touch, right? So you have all those, urban planning was always there, right? So green technology was also there, but then you're looking to integrate this with new technology areas, right? How GIS can integrate more of data analysis, how imagery analysis can be made more precise, right? How the model building can be integrated into the GIS systems, and how do you choose which is the best model, right? So all of that is really adding to these additional learning for green professions. Now, if you see there, you will find a few more emerging areas, right? I'll tell you what, I'm working with one of these colleges on a university research grant, on a shared university research, which IBM actually offers to few universities, where academicians are developing a system which will analyze the underground gases using some IoT devices, some sensors there. And since there is no network connectivity, so using LoRa there, right? And so many more, right? So idea is these all emerging areas will definitely translate into newer jobs, and hence will need new skills. Energy, you see, the typical non-conventional energy, like the wind, the solar, all of these, they have been really making solar is become so much powerful today. Wind is becoming so much powerful today, right? And even people have put up their own small smart grids, and they are actually, instead of consuming, they are generating the electricity for the government, right? They are selling it back to the government. So this has all happened because of all these amalgamation of new technologies in place. Okay. For a while, marketing, sales, and content, but again, a lot of new learning material has been added to it, right? So be it search engine optimization or content marketing, or adding of this to social networks integration to it, social media into it. You see a lot of these meditation sessions happening, the signs of well-being. This has really picked up so much now. A lot of these apps are coming up every weekend. I am part of a few sessions which is all about mental well-being, right? They teach you yoga, they teach you all those breathing exercises, they teach you all those things, how to make yourself happy, right? So the point is, which was not so much in focus earlier, which has happened now, right? And hence a lot of new professions have also evolved in the sales and marketing domain, be it digital literacy, digital, sort of a marketing, business management, product marketing. A lot of them has happened. Digital content has really found a lot of takers, and see, everybody is online today. You are, most of the time you're online, whether it on Netflix or Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever, right? So what are we doing? We are consuming content, digital content in some way. So somebody is producing it somewhere, isn't it? And that content has to be relevant for you. So many people actually going towards back end, creating those content, making it more relevant, and hence so many more emerging jobs in that area. And the content has to be good. Otherwise, if you don't like the content, you'll never ever visit that content provider again, right? Because there is no dearth of content providers. So the person has to be very impeccable in whatever he is doing, right? And hence, all those skills which are recent ones are needed to be there, right? This is another area where people are actually doing a lot of learning. I can tell you from a HR perspective, people have been using technology big time in analytics, in trying to analyze how do you use it. In IBM, we used to have the entire onboarding face to face all these years. For the first time in the history of 100 plus years, look, we did a complete online onboarding, of a few thousand fresh hires this year in March, April timeframe, which was never ever the case. Nobody would have thought about it, right? And hence, this has really become a new, area where people have to gain skills on. So now, talent acquisition specialist is not just a typical HR guy. He has to learn about technology as well, right? Then only he'll be able to discharge his duties in a better manner. Okay, so let's skip a few slides and yeah, let's try and talk about from India's perspective, what's India doing in Industry 4.0 and how it is actually so much relevant to you and me. Okay. So if you see from our 2018 to 2020 time frame, right, there has been a significant increase in terms of the adoption vis-a-vis technology platforms. So you see there for AR, VR, or cognitive or 3D printing, it is very less compared to the mobility or the cloud or big data analytics. This is huge. Even if you see from a IoT perspective, uh, what started in 2018, in 2020 it was more than twice of it, right? And hence something you also see the tab there on security. People have become a lot more conscious about security because of all these online platforms, because of connecting, being connected and using mobile devices, laptops all the time on internet, right? So there has been a lot of focus around security as well, right? People have become more increasingly aware about how to bring that, and that's the reason you see the spike in that graph, right? So these are again, and you see these are the same technologies I was talking to you about earlier, right? And they all contribute to 4.0. Now you have to understand how many of these technologies are you really teaching your child? Are you teaching them? And if not, then what you can do to teach them. How you can connect to the existing resources available with so many organizations. At IBM also we have a program called the Skills Academy, through which we teach the faculties and students a lot of these courses around all these technologies, at least these 7 8 technologies. I'll try to touch upon that in the later part if I get time, but for now let's try and understand, right? So this is really important, grooming your skills, grooming the talent in all these new areas. This is really important, right? And this is again an infographic which basically talks about India versus Asia Pacific, right? Because it's really important the economy sustains. For example, China has such a strong manufacturing base, right? That's where we are really at a disadvantage now. Now, how do you ramp that up so that you can remain relevant, in the geographical region, particularly in Asia Pacific, if you talk about, right? That this infographic is really important to understand where are we compared to other near competitors, right? So if you again see here, what people in Asia Pacific have been doing in 2020 versus what India is doing in 2020, or even for that matter 2018, there is a big gap, guys, right? And this gap has to be plugged by academia only, because unless we teach these skills at our different academic levels, this gap will never be plugged. The reason is when they actually come to the industry to work, they may definitely learn, but then they're learning on the job, right? So what it means is, had they would have learned prior to joining the industry, they would have their absorption have been a lot more seamless. Their absorption have been a lot more fruitful. And absorption had been much more. See, earlier we used to, these companies when they used to come for campus used to hire in hundreds and thousands, right? Let's say X company came to the campus and hired 500. Now today, when the company comes to the campus or maybe does an online campus interview or exam, instead of that 500, they may only be picking some 50, 60, 70, 100, right? So the numbers have gone down big time. Why? Because the skills that the company is looking for is not readily available, right? So putting in all those efforts, which has actually been, so that you make the guy employable, really does put a lot of burden on whosoever is hiring them, right? So the moment you talk about, and I'll give you so many successful case studies, right, in India only, where there are colleges which have groomed skills for tomorrow. We call them skills for tomorrow, right? Though they're needed today. Almost the entire batches get placed 1 year in advance, right? There's so many colleges like that where the students have, jobs in hand. They have, they have those opportunities in hand before they're even going out of the college, right? Why so? Because they have adopted to those technologies which have been which make difference to the organization. Okay. the government of India has been increasing a lot of FDA in manufacturing, and not just in manufacturing. They're doing it in lot many industries. A few target industries are automotive, defense, aviation, biotechnology, electrical, electronics, food and food processing, oil and gas, pharmaceuticals. This is only indicative. This is not exhaustive list, by the way, right? A lot of delicensing is happening so that businesses can be done easily. There's a lot of focus on reskilling, right? The NSDC or the NSDA, and so many initiatives are being basically driven by government of India. Now, I was really, it was a pleasant surprise for me to find that AICT has so many courses hosted, under their NEET initiative, right? MHRD has a NEET initiative under which there are a lot of courses open, and they're just both like free as well, and they are paid as well, right? At IBM also, we offer something called as Academic Initiative Portal, which offers almost everything for free to learning to academia, courseware, lab exercises, digital badges, a lot of software for download, lot of this, right? So point I'm trying to make is, in order to remain in sync with what government is looking forward to, you need to have all these technology focus integrated in your learning in some way, right? So you have to have IoT, you have to have cloud, you have to have big data analytics integrated in your curriculum, integrated in your classroom teaching in some way, so that the resource, the student that you are actually getting out, is able to utilize all of this. And it has to be hands-on, folks, right? It has to be not just theoretical learning, but then they have to really sort of be hands-on working on it, right? This is another success story from Asian Paints, which have really utilized all those 4.0 technologies in terms of increasing the performance, increasing the output, increasing. So again, this is a process plant, right? So process plants can always leverage from sensors, the automation of those plants, right? Because they can get better analytics, they can get predictive analytics. When can a machine be failing? When is a particular part in a certain machine up for maybe maintenance, right? So in case you can predict it more accurately, nothing like it. So see this, though Asian Paint is a mechanical based plant, or maybe you can say polymer based plant, chemical engineering consult related, but then still there is a scope for AI into it. There is a bigger scope for cloud computing into it, right? So if you see there at the bottom, the technologies which have really evolved this particular use cases: AI, cognitive, IoT, simulation, cloud, big data analytics. These are the technologies which have really changed the face of Asian Paints today, right? Similarly, if I have to give you another case study, this is again ABB India, right? Which is really helping, optimize utilization of energy in manufacturing facilities, right? Now, I'm sure in your colleges there are thousands and hundreds of electrical appliances being utilized, right? Now, how do you effectively utilize those appliances? In case you can automate, making them on and off in some manner, you really do a huge favor to the nation by, by saving the electricity, by reducing all those electricity bills that you are generating, and of course, increasing the performance. And if you see there again at the bottom, the technologies which are fueling this is mobility, big data analytics, cloud, and IoT, right? So yeah, so I will basically leave it here, and these are the major takeaways, right? The key takeaways from what you should be taking is AI, cognitive, IoT, big data analytics, cloud, robotics, right? Cyber security. These are some fundamental areas you should really look to adopt in your learning, in your curriculum, in your teaching approach, so that whatever we are talking about is really relevant, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a stop here. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to request for any of your questions. And after that, I will talk to you about how IBM can help you in your learning approach. So maybe somebody who can pick up these questions from chat, and you can give it to me. What are these questions that you are interested in asking, or somebody can unmute, or whatever works for you. Vishal sir, let me know how it works for you.
Yeah, Dr. Vishal.
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am, tell me.
Participants can unmute themselves and ask questions directly to Dr. Mani.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mani Madhukar. It was an exhaustive, excellent compilation and tip that you gave us regarding what is required and what is the technology that we need to focus on while teaching the students. Regarding this, I had a question. Now, as somebody who hire freshers, as a company who hire freshers, what do you think the academia should stress on? The foundation or these new different technologies, and how conversant the students are with working on projects with these technologies? Because we are time bound. The students learn common subjects in their first year, and second, third, fourth year is what we have. In the 3 years, the last year they are busy with internship, project work, and things like that. So basically, we have only 2 years to give them knowledge about foundation courses, and then also expose them to all these technologies. So, what, according to you, from your experience, do you think we should focus on? What should be the percentage? Foundation course versus the advancements in technology?
Okay, ma'am. You have a wonderful question, and you know what? I have been working with academia for more than 10, 15 years, and I've been part of tens of BOSs across different universities or academic councils and all. And this is one question where every time I know I'm in part of that, I'm at loggerheads with the people on the other side of the table, right? And I'll again give you my narrative on this because it's really an important question. And I will try to give it with an example because we're all teachers here, right? We all understand narratives better. Few years back, when you and me were studying, ma'am, there was no concept of mobile phones, right? We are so much used to have that landline. That too was happening maybe 1 in 10 homes. And if one has to receive a call, one would actually go to his neighbor's house or maybe go to a STD PCO to make a call booked and do it.
Very
Then
true.
came the concept of those Nokia phones, of the primitive phones, wherein we could only call, we could make a call there, right? It was just about telephony, right? And then came the smartphones, which were some more sophisticated, where you can do an SMS, you can even check your email on those phones, right? And then came the new generation of phones where you have all these smart, which are actually more powerful than your laptops, desktops. Even for that matter, if I have to say, some 60 years back, the mainframe that were there, the mobile phones are a lot more powerful than them, right? So we have been evolving, and we have been evolving very fast. So what? Okay, so now I'll come to the contagious part, right? So what you term as foundational versus the emerging or new technologies, that definition has to evolve continuously. The foundation which was there, and I'll tell you from my own experience, ma'am. People still talk about principles of programming language as a foundation level course. People still talks about system programming. Donovan has a book when they talk about those foundation courses which should not be tampered with. Okay, this is a first-hand experience from all these BOSs, hundreds and hundreds of them, ma'am, over the period of so many years, right? Uh, the way things have evolved, in the same manner, the curriculum or the academic learning or that foundation that you talk of about also has to evolve. Now we have not been doing that, and there are so many reasons, which this is not the right forum to get into those reasons. But the point is, we have not been doing it. Now, unless we keep on evolving that, which hasn't happened in last 20, 30 years, we see a big gap in what is foundational and what is new or emerging. So that's why we say a student is free to do a project in maybe a big data analytics or maybe a blockchain or maybe a RPA, but then his foundation still remains the same old stuff, right? So there has to be a increment in the foundations that you talk about. The moment you do that delta, you move upwards, you basically narrow the margin. And it has to be done on a continuous basis, because for years, for decades, we have not done it. And that's the reason why a lot of universities today, ma'am, which have adopted to these new programs, new courses, are really doing so much good. I'll give you one small, simple example, and I don't have to dig into it because it's again a controversial topic. If you dig into the NIRF rankings, which were published a few days back, and you just see the top 100, okay, let's not consider anything beyond that. Let's say this is top 100, and I'm not saying the parameters and all, ma'am. I'm just saying, just consider those top 100, and you see the number of institutions uh, which have been very agile in changing their curriculum versus the number of institutions who have been very steadfast in their approach of maintaining those foundation which has been there for last 10, 15, 20 years. You will actually feel an immediate difference. You will see the difference there. I hope I'm making myself clear without putting a lot of things that I want to.
Sure, sure. Yes, sir.
So that's the reason, okay, coming back to what people look for in hiring, ma'am. Now, look, why do we hire anybody? We basically hire anybody so that we can make him to work on something. Okay, what will this person work on? This person will work on some project which is available. What will the project will be on? The project will definitely be on something which is emerging, which is requested by the client, right? Now, a client will not request something which was there 20 years back. A client will be requesting a work, something which is upcoming in the area of upcoming technology, right? So the point is, whomsoever I'm hiring, unless he is, if he is in those new areas, that's a wonderful thing for me because I will have to work less on him. And, from the day one, he may be more productive. We call it as, you know, um, time to market, right? So basically, how quickly can we actually take him to the client and we can make him work? And if I hire a vanilla flavor, right, I'll actually have to work on that particular person in terms of grooming his abilities, despite that his foundational skills are very strong, right? But then I'll have to actually work on that piece which is needed on, for him to deliver on. He may be very good with everything, programming, logics, algorithm, and all, but then he's supposed to be working on, let's say, RPA or let's say IoT, right? Now, unless he has the skills in that, it will not help my cause because I have to put in a lot of effort in that, right? I hope I'm trying to make myself clear, right?
Yeah, sure. And I would like to add, I think now we need to stress more on maths and statistics related subjects, which we had conveniently diluted over many years, thinking maths is okay. The plus two maths compared to what we do in engineering, I feel is very little, and now we need to focus on maths as well for engineers.
Ma'am, if you see AI and data science are penetrating in almost all non-conventional engineering streams, not just engineering streams. You talk about a typical NIFD, the National Fashion guys, right? Even they use AI ML, they use data science, right? So
Yes, yes.
unless you give him a statistics flavor or you make him understand the background of mathematics so that he will be able to appreciate what are these, AI-based models, how these models
Some
evaluate things, it will not
maths
make sense.
exceed in engineering education, I feel, for the last decade. Now, I think it's time that we include some math-related intense courses also in the curriculum, especially for computer science.
Yeah, it will definitely help, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks. Folks on the call, may please unmute and you can, there is no better way than talking to each other than I can keep on displaying slides. I've got tens and hundreds of them. Um, any other questions around whatever we talked so far about the 4.0?
I request to all participants, if you have any query, you can ask to sir. He is the best person to solve your query regarding the campus placement also. If you have any query related to the campus placement of final year students, you can put up your questions here.
Okay, so if there isn't any other question, then I will actually move on to the second piece of my discussion today. So far I was focusing on what are the areas, where you should be working on, what are the areas that are needed because of Industry 4.0, right? Which are technologies which can really help. In case you have any question, feel free to, interrupt and you can always ask questions to me, right? So far I was focusing on that piece, right, where how does all these different technical components come together and really help in creating a better talent, right? Now, the second part that I'll focus on and in my conversation today is how you can take help from IBM in case you are looking to. How can IBM help in your pursuit of, learning things better? Okay, so yeah, so this is what I have. Um, we have recently come up with something called as IBM Skills Academy. This is a pretty new initiative from IBM. This got launched in Q4 globally, and in India we have just brought it in. Okay, and I'll try to explain what this is all about. Why is it important? Why is it relevant for you? Okay. So let's try and understand. As I was telling you, and this maps back to my discussion in the previous slide, right? There is a big churn in terms of Industry 4.0, right? And what we say is this is again data from World Economic Forum, right? By 2022, 54% of the existing employees will really require significant reskilling and upskilling. And this applies to all of us, not just the students, even faculty members. So you yourself see, you have been upgrading yourself continuously. You have been learning topics, you have been learning things which were never existent when you were studying, right? They were never ever an iota of something around blockchain or IoT when we were studying, right? Leave around machine to machine communication, right? We used to have this HCI long back, but then that was pretty different, right? The point I'm trying to make here is this reskilling is the continuous ask. You will have to, or I will have to keep it doing unless I have decided to hang my boots. I'll have to keep learning every day. And these skills can be in different segments. It can be human skills, it can be digital skills, it can be business skills. See, we may never have actually learned this WebEx and all had this need not be here of presenting online or doing these webinars or accepting the content online and all of that stuff. But then it has been upon us, and we have imbibed, accepted all of this now, right? Now, if you see this, we basically talk about something called as a digital practitioner. Okay, so we are looking for somebody who is a digital practitioner, which encompasses three categories, right? Human skills versus business enablers versus digital building blocks, right? And it's not just those soft computing we used to talk about or the language skills we talked about. It is also about collaboration. It's also about critical thinking. It's also about creativity. It's also about analytical skills, right? And this is what is that part of it, the soft side of it, right? And then you have all those business enablers, right? So you need to know digital design, you need to have project management capabilities, you need to know business processes, how they spin out. And if you talk about the digital part of it, then how do you manage the data? How do you analyze the data? How do you actually do a software development? How do you program? And again, security and privacy. So if you see, this is a 360-degree view of a digital practitioner. Now, we are aiming to inculcate these skills as we go further in what we bring to use as a IBM Skills Academy. Okay, the Skills Academy is aimed at building the future workforce, and it basically is a playground for new technologies. Now, what do we cover here? Um, we basically talk about a couple of technologies here. I will give you first a snapshot, and I'll come back to this slide then after that. So we're talking about 8 technology areas: IoT, cloud computing, data science, blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, design thinking, and quantum computing, right? We see these as 8. If you see these, all of them marry to Industry 4.0, by the way, right? So we see these technologies to be leveraged in very big way going further. They're basically leveraged even today, but then going further, they will have a more deeper imprint, both in terms of business processes, in terms of what we are doing today, everything, right? And how do you enable these technologies? This is where we're bringing this approach of a digital practitioner. Okay, now three broad pillars. One, the theoretical lectures, of course, which are very key in terms of understanding a technology, making them learn something. Two, labs, which really help in developing, building digital expertise for them. Three, the group work, the collaborative, because normally you will actually collaborate with multiple people, right? And that's where this particular thing comes together, right? So the role playing scenarios where you have industry use cases, you have some real customer implementation. So what we put into the course, all of these courses is, one, there will be some labs, which will be around use cases. For example, if you talk about AI based course, then you will be talking about how do you analyze frauds, right? The banking frauds or insurance frauds or something else, right? How do you understand those patterns there in an AI using AI, right? And then there will be some lectures which will be delivered or developed with some university partners, and we have some IBM SMEs as well coming together. And third is we really want to give them a 360-degree view of how do you, orient a solution, how do you create a solution using something called as design thinking approach. Now, this is really new and this is really fantastic way of understanding the nitty-gritties, the 360 approach of developing a solution, right? How do you identify what is to be developed? It is no more the typical brainstorming. This is what comes as something called as design thinking approach. Okay, so that's what I was talking to you about. So we have these, and the typical approach of delivery of these courses is we basically like to train the faculties, and we request the faculties to actually keep doing it for their students, their set of students on their own. The reason behind this is a more self-sustaining model where you train the faculty members. So whenever you train the faculty member, that knowledge actually reflects in so many ways. So a faculty can do some research in those areas. He can actually teach your students those areas. So it is more inclusive. It's more productive that way. Instead of just going to teach the student, if you teach the faculty, that becomes a lot more rewarding for you, right? So what we do is we basically offer free T3s to the faculty members in all of these areas. These T3s were earlier used to be in face-to-face 5-day intensive training mode, but then due to COVID and all, we are now doing a 3 weeks, at the rate 2 hours per day training, wherein we take the faculty through the entire process of these 75, 80 hours of learning, okay? And which includes lab exercises, which includes case studies, which includes challenges, which includes theoretical PDFs, videos, all of that. And once the faculty has done that, we basically provide them with something called as instructor badges. Okay. Yeah, I'll just give it to you. Yeah, they are basically given us something called as instructor badges. Once a faculty achieves this instructor badge, they are capable or they are certified to deliver the courses on their own. So they can go back to the colleges, they can deliver the content to their set of students on their own, right? Yeah, so this is what. And in order to do, and once they have done that, the students are basically again taught the same content with the faculty has taught, has basically taken themselves, and the student typically gets a practitioner badge. This is what is the practitioner badge like, right? So think of, in a particular college, if there are buckets of different technology, maybe 100 students across AI, 100 students on blockchain, maybe 50 students on design thinking, it becomes a really good, rich pool of resource where any organization or any company, not just IBM, would really come and like to hire, right? Because these people have not just studied it, they have really practiced it. So they have developed projects using these technologies. It's all deep hands-on courses, guys. So if this is just a sample one where, if you talk about AI, then they actually work on all of these neural networks, virtual agents, how do you create those data sources? How do you do NLP, deep learning, Watson discovery? There's a huge learning curve there, which, they undergo, and it's all hands-on. There is no theory, right? It's mostly hands-on. It's 35%, 35% of theory, around 30 to 40% of hands-on, and there's some group work along on other design thinking pieces, right? So this is a wonderful where you can actually groom a student, towards developing of skills in those areas, right? So these courses are right now in those 8 areas which I talked to you about, right? And in case you are looking to develop your skills or its skills in any of these areas, you can always come back to me and connect with me on LinkedIn or someplace. I'm always available. So I will stop here and let me know in case you have any questions.
For any query, you can unmute your mic and you can ask the question.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. I am Selvaraj. Sir, are you hearing?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir.
I can hear you.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon. There is an excellent presentation. Enjoyed the presentation. Thank you, sir. We have built so much infrastructure in classrooms in colleges, and this COVID situation totally changed the learning style. What is the future is going to be, sir, with the learning states and teaching states? Can you
Sir,
throw some?
everything is going to move to online, sir, in due course of time. Okay. So, for example, I can tell you, let me start from this, right? So if the college does not resume in a face mode and even in next semester, right? You can't have a zero semester, right? You'll anyways keep teaching him.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, this teaching cannot be complete unless you augment that teaching or you complement the teaching with those lab exercises, whatever has to be taught in lab or done in lab, right? And since you do not have access to your physical labs which are there in college, so how do you do it? So that's the reason all of these courses, or for that matter, any learning that we do today, is basically those lab exercises are on cloud, right? So you don't have to install anything. You don't have to have a virtual machine. You don't do anything. You just have to have an internet connectivity and maybe a laptop or a desktop or maybe even a mobile phone for that matter, right? So, and which is so much common now because of COVID. Almost everybody is connected online, right? Everybody is taking or giving lectures or using internet, right? So all that you need to do the lab exercises here is internet connectivity, right? Because every lab exercise is there on cloud, and there is so the learning becomes a lot more easier. Learning becomes a lot more simpler because you don't have to install anything. So there is no effort which has to be put into that approach, or you need to acquire a license, or you need to install something there, right? Which is one of the major differentiators people have to see. In next 6 months, I'm sure Government of India will also do that. That that the learning has to be a lot more flexible. So you give the student a choice. You even have these choice-based credit system even now. So you give them a topic. Okay, so data science, right? So you do 4 courses on data science, and you bring these certificates in case you done. And all these certificates are basically some hands-on. Let's say, unless he is able to do something hands-on, he will not be able to, get the certificate or badge, digital badge, as I was telling you. So unless that happens, which will happen anyways, and which is a lot of universities have already taken up this approach where they are adding these courses as a credit courses, right? A 4 credit course like that, because these are all 75, 80 hours of courses. So they are accepting those as those credit courses where a child goes online, learns on his own, and comes back with a digital badge or with a digital certificate as a proof of completed that learning, which can contribute to his overall academic hours, academic credit system, right? Because this pandemic has a very severe repercussions the way we see, right? And it is going to relapse anytime soon, which can happen. And with geography such big as India, this is even more difficult for us to manage, right? And you'll have to find out alternate mechanisms, maybe teacher students, some flexible mechanism where they can do it at their own pace. Say today there is no electricity right now, so whenever there is electricity, there is no internet right now. Whenever there is internet, they can come and resume. So you'll have to find those mechanisms. There's ways you'll have to establish those ways to do things. I hope that answers your question, sir.
So there are 2-3 questions in the chat window, sir.
Okay, so let me have a look. So
Participant would like to know about the IBM Watson.
Okay. Okay. So I guess most of us are faculty there. All of us are faculty there, right, sir?
Yes, sir. All are faculty members from different parts of India, sir.
Right. So I'm sure they would all appreciate the times there was a book of artificial intelligence by Richard Knight, right? Which we
Sir,
used
can
to
you
study.
please write in the chat window? Sir, can you please write the chat window in the chat window? Book name?
Sir, there was a AI book, artificial intelligence was the name of the book, and the author was Richard Knight. I'm sure those of you who are from computer science will definitely know that, right? So this was a typical book, and at that point in time, this AI was all about rules, right? And sometime in 70s, IBM came up with something called as Deep Blue. Now, have you heard about that, people on the call, right? Deep Blue, which was basically a chess playing game, right? And which was pitched against then the reigning chess champion was Gary Kasparov, if I'm correct, right? And Gary Kasparov played against Deep Blue. Now, see, AI was all about rules, right? A rule-based engine, right? And Deep Blue was all about rules, right? So you can configure all those moves in a program, and that program was a chess playing game. I'm sure a lot of us, when we were growing up, we used to have these DOS-based chess playing game, right? Which used to be such fantastic theme way back, right? And then there was so Wolf, Dave, and which were more rule based games, right, back then. Now AI evolved from there to a more cognitive based system, and IBM came up with a with an exhibition of something called as IBM Watson, wherein in the US there's a game called Jeopardy, wherein IBM pitched a machine called IBM Watson, and this machine played with the top 5 finalists of the game, the Jeopardy game. And it's just like typical quiz show, right? Where you are given a question, or you're given an answer, you have to frame a question or answer, you have to hit the buzzer, you have to think, you have to analyze, and all that, right? So this machine was basically programmed. Okay, I'll say programmed because even if cognitive, it is programmed, right? So and this machine was working in an offline mode, right? So what happened was, whenever the quiz master said something, the machine had to understand that, ingest that, infer it, okay, and then based upon the inference has to search on its with the best answer. And maybe just like humans, it hits the buzzer, or maybe it basically plays a beep if it has the right answer, and that is to answer, it has to give the correct answer. So Watson won that competition, outplayed all these 5 top people who were there, the finalists that were there, and it basically won the competition. And then 2 years back, that was around 2008-9, yeah. And then IBM kept on working on that Watson thing that you say. And then 2 years back, we came up with something called as Project Debater. You can all Google for everything what I'm talking about. You'll be able to get better answers there. Now, to answer somebody in a Q&A mode is different compared to arguing with somebody, compared to debating with somebody, right? Because the debate is a lot more unstructured. It's a lot more, sort of, what do you say, impromptu, right? Where somebody is talking to you about something, you have to and you think of it from a machine's point of view, right? So if I'm a person, you're a person, I am a machine. So I have to understand what you're talking about, and you can be talking about anything on the earth, right? It need not be only that I'm trained for a certain corpus and you're talking about that. No, that's what is Project Debater all about, right? So it has to basically understand what you are saying, whether you are asking a question, whether you are giving an answer, or maybe it needs to interpret, and it should establish the context of the topic. Then it should pull some information around that context so that it can structure a reply back to you, which should be conducive to hear. Second piece, third piece, fourth piece, after you give back an answer from whatever I've just said, I should again be able to understand that. So the information on corpus here. So that's what Project Debater is all about. Understanding, inferring, is constructing, and then coming back with relevant answers. So it's not Q&A. Debating is different to Q&A, right? So that's what was the ultimate, avatar of Watson service, which came as Project Debater a couple of years back, right? And then what happened was we used the Watson services to customize. Let me give you another example, which is very relevant for all of us. So let's say somebody is doing a research in natural language processing, or maybe image recognition, right? Now, I'm just throwing numbers. It's not correct facts, by the way, right? So let's say in image processing, annually, there are almost like 40,000 research papers getting published annually, and there will be even more, by the way, across the globe. Now, as a researcher, how many papers can you study in a year? 5, 10, 50, 100, 200, 500, right? That's it. Not more than 500 papers in a year, even if you are just doing that, which is actually a big number, right? But then you'll not be able to study all those 40,000 research papers for sure. It's for sure. Now, how do you, and if you're doing research in that area, then how can you be actually updated? How can you be more recent about what is available there, right? So you can't be. It's humanly not possible, right? So that's the reason Watson comes and helps you in that doing that. Let's talk about Watson for oncology, right? Where Watson is helping the doctors treat cancer patients. Now, doctors have a strong experience working with patients, right? But again, they cannot study all the research which has happened in 1 year. It's not possible for them. So Watson, what it does is it basically it has been trained to understand all those cancerous data, terms, medical terminology, and all that. Now, what it does, it basically ingests all those data available globally on its own. And after that, whenever there is a patient to the doctor and the doctor has a Watson console, Watson helps the doctor with probable things, with the updated information. So doctor can, leverage Watson. It's more complementary than, replacing things. So Watson can help the doctor with that knowledge base which the doctor does not have, which is recent, and hence Watson is trained to help him, give or suggest him for oncological treatment. That's what is the Watson. And Watson is actually trained across different domains, be it manufacturing, be it even in education, we have a Watson, where a Watson can help you understand your strengths, your weaknesses, maybe develop a more customized learning pattern for you, so that it can be more impactful. So like that. So that's what is typically Watson. I hope that answers the question briefly. And all these Watson services are available on IBM Cloud in terms of discovery, Watson Studio, language analytics, a lot of them, visual recognition, a lot of them are available for people to play. Okay, does that answer the question?
Any other query?
Okay, I have a small challenge, sir.
Yes.
The challenge is, for some reason, the electricity is out at my place for last 1 hour or so, and I guess I only have battery backup left for another 10-15 minutes, right, before my machine conks off. So yeah, so somehow the DG is not working. I don't know why. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there is
So
no
feel free to
problem.
ask your questions. I'm there
So you
for
can
some more
you
time.
can please write your contact details in the chat window, sir. If the participants would like to connect you in the future, they can contact you. And
So
if
I'm
they would like
available on
to,
LinkedIn, folks. You can always come to LinkedIn and search for Madhukar. I'll be more than happy to help you. You can always have there, or you can write to my Twitter handle at the rate Money Madhukar. You can actually push your questions there. Right
yeah, I
now,
will.
in case you want to ask, you can ask any questions even right now.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Hello,
ma'am.
am I
Yeah, please go
audible, sir?
ahead. You're audible.
Sir, it's very nice to connect back to you. We had connected back around 2011. We had that IBM center at BBD. Perhaps you are able to remember that, sir.
Sure, ma'am. I'm
Hello.
able to remember you. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
sir.
I
So at
am
that
able
time
to
we had
recollect,
this.
please, ma'am.
Yeah. So myself, Neeta Rastogi, and I was at that time head of department computer science, and we had very good
Yeah.
workshops conducted by under the scheme for our faculties. So at that time, sir, we had whatever were the current technologies like DB2 and Java Rational Tester and all those things. And a lot of students also had participated, and under your Blue Scholar scheme, they were identified as Blue Scholars, and some got good placements also.
I remember.
But I'm just sharing my experience. At that time, the students felt that when they were sitting for placements in general companies who come for campus, at that time, those technologies like the databases that were much more prevalent in the market were SQL Server or such other things. So they felt a bit that they had maybe trained for something which was very much specialized. So at this, in the current scenario for say the placements of 2020 and onwards, sir, what would be the better way to set up this kind of association? Because we are not having in like in UP in Lucknow, I am there. You have some idea of BBT group also. Presently, I have shifted to another college, SR Institute. So, sir, what would be your suggestion? What kind of
So,
courses?
ma'am, first, your previous experience that you are talking about at that point in time, it was more tool-based, deliveries.
Yeah,
It was more focused on some of the other tools. From that,
yes, sir.
because of so many other things, we have moved to a technology-based training. So, when you talk about
Yes,
an
sir.
IoT or
That
a
is right.
cloud computing or a
Yeah,
data science, there is a
yeah.
lot of open source content as well in these courses. It's not just IBM specific, but then there are a lot of
Yes,
open
sir.
source content as well, right? So, for
Yes,
example, if
sir.
you're doing a data science course, there will be TensorFlow in some way or the other. You might be, taught PyTorch, Cafe, Keras, all those libraries will also be there, right? So it's a
Got
very different approach of training and learning these days. So again, the same point, ma'am, unless, the hiring has shrinked over the years and it is going to shrink further. So unless, the college or the child is able to create an impact that he knows something which is very updated, which is something very much needed in industry, uh,
Yes, sir.
the moment you are able to, establish that, it really gives you a lot of positive, upper hand compared to your competitors when it comes to hiring. So be it when you are inviting a company for a placement as a placement coordinator, and you see that your students have digital badges and these ABCD technologies, they have done projects on data science, they have done project on this and that, compared to, they have only done a BTech in computer science. So those two narratives are entirely different. So I would like to go to a place, which has more deeper skills, because later on when I bring them onto my company, they will have to work on one of these areas, right? So if I'm
Definitely.
having the skills available right there at the college, why not grab that? That's the reason if you see a lot of these colleges or universities which have been very, which have been, really vocal in adopting to new technologies, almost all of their badges are placed better compared to other colleges, ma'am. The students will
Yes.
have one or two placement offers in their hands in pre-final year itself.
Because, sir, luckily or unfortunately, because of this new dimensions of interactions now, we also got an opportunity and the students connected with their alumni. So
Yeah.
they give their own feedback that Java is the core thing, like the student shared that we are working on
Right.
data sciences. So they gave a feedback that still the core programming is going on in Java in the industry. Again, they were getting confused. So we give them the direction, and with this added information from your side, I think we'll be able to guide them in a better way. So
Ma'am,
thank
this
you
is
very much.
all about, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Hello,
Any other
sir.
questions? Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, Dr. Vishal.
Yes, sir.
I think Dr. Mani has some constraint in his apartment. There are multiple other issues. I know that. So, Dr. Mani
Yes, sir.
will not tax you more. So, thank you so much for.
Not at all.
I
Thank
can
you.
understand. I can understand. We have been discussing that. So, take a rest and take care of the problem and the constraints at your end. And thank you so much for having delivered an excellent lecture, which an industry and the corporate practitioner was supposed to. And you have also sensitized that in which way the industry and the futuristic vision is moving, and in which way the academic people, we academia, have to move. Otherwise, we'll miss the race, and then the gap which is will further increase. So, nonetheless, on behalf of entire academic fraternity present here and even not present here, I assure you that we academic people definitely will catch up the race. And that's how you have mentioned in your discussion that agility, and we have shown to the world that in academia from the India are very agile. In a span of hardly a week time, people have shifted from entire face-to-face teaching learning to an absolute digital and online learning. That we have shown our strength. So we are very agile. We'll move to that, and the certificate is presented to you. Thank you so much, Dr. Nani.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
so much, sir. Please accept this certificate of appreciation from Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Applications and Management, and on behalf of all the participants. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time to us, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Uttam, can you make me presenter? Dear participants, today I have got half an hour, 30 minutes. In fact, since day one of the FDP, I was trying that if there will be a time, I will also speak to you, but there was no time at all. All the speakers who are coming were taking their lectures, and finally ensuring, Uttam, can you make me presenter?
Sir, you are presenter now.
So I can share it, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, just a minute. Let me share this. My screen visible?
Yes, sir.
So, friends, it was getting difficult to get a time to talk to you because 11 to 1 and 2 to 4, almost all packed schedule. But today, Dr. Mani has given me almost 30 minutes. So this 30 minutes, I will just sensitize you. In fact, I wanted in this FDP to keep this lecture first from a Springer, then somehow or other that could not get materialized. So we were thinking with some other publisher, but again that could not get materialized because so many webinars and so much of work from home for all these corporate people. So I thought, let me talk to you directly on myself. So the title of this discussion may be for next 30 minutes, though the presentation is for 2 hours, but I will rush through and will show you only important part. So the title of this discussion is The Art of Writing Quality Research Papers in Digital Age. As we had started in the beginning, that everything in and around us is changing. And that's how almost all speakers since day one have sensitized to all of us that if we do not accept the changes upfront, possibly the circumstances, the situations in and across us, the kind of the compulsion which are around us will change us. And under that changing environment, if you see, we started a journal in the year 2009, and in the year 2017, after 2017, after 8 years, we have also changed from BIGIT to BJIT. We have been publishing that from there. Now the Springer Nature is publishing it. The next important change which we wanted to have, that instead of we publishing the journal, now the Springer is publishing the journal. That is an important change. And under this changing environment, I wanted to discuss with all you that the kind of the publication philosophy, the kind of the technique with which we were publishing earlier is no more valid in today's time. And now we have to be a little careful while publishing the paper. What I'm sharing with all of you is basically experience of dealing with the papers from IEEE publications and Springer publications, and those who are from having for some other background with other publications like Elsevier, like Ethel and Francis, they may differ with me, but these experiences which are being shared here, they are primarily based on the papers being dealt with IEEE and Springer. So friends, let me tell you clearly that we have identified that there are 4 casual attitudes. Because of those casual attitudes, even good papers of good authors are getting rejected or are not getting the proper place to get published. What are those 4 casual attitudes? Again, because of agility, someone tells me that you need to publish a paper. It has been 2 years, you didn't submit any paper. So I need to rush through and find out some mechanism to publish a paper. So the first casual attitude, I'm a very hardcore researcher, but still I'm in hurry to publish the paper. So my first approach is copy and paste from some existing publication. I will go to some IEEE transaction. You'll go to some good journal of Springer. You'll go to some good journal of Taylor and Francis. We'll download some paper. We'll make some little changes and then we'll submit it for some publication. If we are doing this, this is the digital age. At one go, the clerkical assistant with the publishing house who assists the editor-in-chief for the purpose of taking decision and gives analytic will understand that this paper has been published where, and most of the time the paper will get rejected outrightly, and it may also be possible that with this kind of attitude, the publisher may debar the author for maybe 1 year period, 2 year period, 3 year period. Second casual attitude, which we have identified in the process of scanning through the paper, that some author has published a paper during his master's degree, maybe in MSc or maybe in MTech program, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, then joined job in teaching maybe as assistant professor, and now the first promotion is due, and one paper, he is finding that I'm short of one paper, so he finds that that paper was in hard copy and no soft copy, so let me publish that paper again, and ultimately that's my paper. And huge debate keeps on happening that even if I am doing it, it's my paper, I'm not plagiarizing the work of some other author. So the second casual attitude, with that we have identified that republishes one's own published paper after a gap of 4 or 5 years without any reason. If we are doing that and understanding that it's my own paper which I am going to republish, it is a self-plagiarism. That's also a crime, and that should not be done. So as a good researcher, this is not a recommended practice. Third important observation is that find any paid journal and get it published quickly, maybe within a month's time. So if you open your mailbox, you will understand and you will see that at least 100 of mails every week you are receiving from different publishing houses that you submit a paper and we are here to publish your paper. If this is the situation and you are being trapped with this kind of environment, then possibly you are losing your good paper, which otherwise could have been published at some good publication. So I'm not telling by that means that all paid journals are bad journals. I do not mean that. I mean that if you are convinced with the peer review process of the journal, if you are convinced with the quality processes followed by the journal, then only submit your paper and accept to publish the paper. Otherwise, even your good paper will go in waste. And gone are those days that whatever you publish, wherever you will be publishing, that will get accepted. We remember the days initial 2000 when people used to ask, have you presented a paper? Just presenting a paper in a conference was sufficient to get entire credit in the academic system. But all of you are teachers now, and by now you must be realizing that first people say that no, presenting a paper has got no meaning whether the paper was published. Once you submit that yes, the paper has been published, then the next question is being asked whether the publication in which your paper has been published is indexed. And then the next question will be asked whether it is a conference paper or a journal paper. So if you are keen enough, so let's pay attention that you publish to a good publication, maybe a paid one. There are different models. Most of the publishers are now thinking that why to have only the free publication, why don't you have open access in which the citation for the author will increase, for the paper will increase, and the cost of the publication will be borne by authors or maybe authors organization. That model is also coming, but you have to find out whether it is a good journal or not. Fourth important observation is submit paper and find intimacy to influence the editorial team for quick publication. If you are doing it, then again you are mistaken. No good publication under some pressure, X or Y or Z kind of pressure, will in hurried manner publish your paper. So let's not do that. So I think any other practice except these four practices are acceptable to all publishers and should be acceptable to all authors. That is my first submission at this moment. Next, my slide. So if you happen to attend any of the editorial workshop, many of the editors from across the world will keep on sharing such kind of stories that we keep on receiving call almost on daily basis that there is a paper which is from my very known person, and then you please help me to publish this paper. So a similar kind of a story is here that the moment you pick up a phone, some senior person whom you can't say no will call and tell that, hello, Professor Uda, I understand you are editor-in-chief of so-and-so journal. Then you reply yes, then he will say that you are doing an excellent work and you must be complimented. The moment he says this word, immediately we understand there are some undue recommendations coming, and for this undue recommendation, honoring will be very difficult task. And the moment this thinking is happening in the background, the recommendation comes that I need one favor from you. My would-be son-in-law has submitted a paper in BJIT having number so-and-so. I shall be obliged if you kindly accept it. He has to submit his PhD thesis with which his promotion is linked. And then after I have to marry my daughter with him. If you are thinking this model is going to work, friends, this model is not going to work, because journals, publishers have to take care of their branding. And this model will only work that publisher, the editor-in-chief, will send this paper to 2-3 more stringent reviewer and will ask them to have very stringent review and send the feedback. And believe me, if you receive good constructive feedback and get paper rejected, then also you should pay thanks to your publisher, thanks to the journal, thanks to the editor-in-chief, that at least he has given you suggestions using which you can improve your paper. Next important aspect which I wanted to share with all of you, many other speakers might have also shared similar aspect. There are two school of thought. One school of thought is whether I should follow the researches which are being done in this particular domain, or I should follow something else, that is where creativity and innovation will lie. That the fundamental crux of sharing the philosophy is this. There are two ways of thinking. One, we can follow the kind of bher chal, the kind of the race with which everyone is moving, and we can stand differently, stand out. Means normally it is said that odd man out. So stand out differently and say no. Whatever researches you are doing in last 30 years, or whatever researches this group is doing since last 12 years, has got a different dimension now. So there are two ways. But which way you have to apply, that will depend what kind of guide you have, what kind of infrastructural support you have, what kind of system and research ecosystem you have at your university. But the philosophy is that the moment you are undertaking a review of literature, you must understand that we have to carry out the review of literature in a way that should not be undertaken in a hurried manner, and should be focused in a manner that must create a research, and research should be significant to the society. That's how a quick example, that when any research scholar joins any research group and gets involved with some of the supervisors, some of the guide, he comes to the guide, and guide is already in a hurry to publish a paper. So he has written some paper, but he's waiting for some student who should bring a MATLAB result for him, and the result is embedded in the paper, and the paper is sent for publication. He might have even spoken to some publisher also, that I'm sending you next week a paper, please publish. And under this ecosystem, a scholar approaches to the guide and asks to the guide, sir, I have this particular interest, and I wanted to write some paper in this. Guide replies, no, that interest I will take care later. But what you do, you take these material, take these 2-3 papers, and go to the laboratory, see to it that the result, MATLAB result, is generated by today evening, and you come back to it. And that's how a scholar who has gone first day could not dare to say no to the guide, and immediately he accepts, okay sir, I will bring the result by today, and he goes back to the laboratory where some other scholars are also working, and he starts talking to other scholars. Other scholar tells, but don't worry, I will generate result for you, I know MATLAB very well, give me data point. So he takes all those data, input data, and with the help of the other friend working in the same laboratory, he generates a result, and the result is something like not a straight line, but a little deviation in the straight line. But he doesn't know what is its meaning, because he hasn't done any review of literature, he hasn't done any background work. It is not of interest to him, it is only an instruction from the guide. So he takes this result and comes back to the guide, and see the kind of the tone in which he is talking to the guide, that sir, I have carried out the experiment, and here is the final result. But guide was expecting a kind of a straight line instead of this deviation. And the moment he saw this deviation in the result, he is so angry that he replies, stupid. Why is there a kink in the response? Use any plotting software and remove the data point so that we get a smooth graph. I need to publish the results immediately. Do you think that under this environment, under this ecosystem, the scholar who went there will apply his innovation, will apply his creativity, and will do some such meaningful research which will change the society, at least one specific aspect of the society for which he was supposed to? He will not. The answer is obviously no. The second approach of the research is, the moment a scholar goes to the guide tells, okay, you take these materials, go to the laboratory, start reading first few papers, start conducting experiments, and when you get meaningful result, don't come by today evening. When you get meaningful result, then come back to me. Take your own time. The moment guide says in this way, a scholar is over happy. He doesn't do anything on that day. Keeps on sharing with his friends that I have got a work, and let me study for next week or 10 days time. Then I will conduct an experiment. Some of his friends, even if he tells that I will conduct an experiment for you, he says, no, 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 let me first study and I will conduct it. He takes almost a month, 2 months time, understands the background of the subject, conducts a thorough review of literature, then conducts an experiment, and then finally generate a result. And again the same result, because the same data points, so the result will be same with this deviation. And then he comes back with some enthusiasm to the guide and says to the guide, a student to teacher, sir, I have carried out the experiment and the final result is interesting. I noticed a king. He is highlighting this king. And see, the guide who was waiting that some different result should come is over happy than the student. And a guide says that, well done. Focus on the regions where you are getting king. Modify the material so that the king is prominent. If it becomes more prominent, I'm visualizing an important application of this king. We can get it patented and then publish a novel paper. Take your own time. Friends, both the ecosystem is before you. Whether you wanted to join the race of the first ecosystem, which is very easy, and the race of the second ecosystem, which is not so easy. In the second ecosystem, you have to be creative. You have to be innovative. And probably with this creativity and innovation, you may land up with doing some research which may undo the researches of last 2-3 decades of that particular domain. But this is a welcome step, and this is required that you need to appreciate and that you need to decide. If you are a guide, you decide that what kind of guide you want it to be. If you are a scholar, then first pay attention that what kind of guide you have and what kind of ecosystem you have in and around you, and which one you can afford and which you cannot afford. So accordingly take decision. I wanted to sensitize you both. Second important observation which I have here is what's the research paper? We keep on receiving research paper, and at least 70% of the research papers are rejected outrightly. They are not even reviewed by the reviewers. And for that purpose, I wanted to sensitize you with this slide that if the net information content of your paper is high, when I'm talking of a net information content, the teachers can better understand it with the help of gross salary and net salary. So gross information content is your entire information content in the paper, and then deductions are the information available in the references. So if the gross information content minus the information available in the references equal to the net information content, if your net information content is not strictly greater than 0, this implies you are not writing a research paper, you are not making any research contribution. And if it is equal to 0, you are not writing a research paper, but you are writing a survey or review paper. But friends, the situation becomes too alarming when this net information content in the paper that is strictly less than 0. Then you will have to think, why are you writing a paper and which publisher will accept this paper? Whether it's a newspaper article or tutorial you are writing, you have to think, and then accordingly you have to take decision. Let me quickly tell you the entire review process. This review process is from IEEE transactions, and even Springer follows this. Most of the other publications follow. In engineering sciences, in fact, all major publishers follow this review process. And the very first and the foremost in the review process is gone are those days when some expert will read the paper, and after reading the paper, the expert will inform you that your paper has got, say, around 40% plagiarism. Your paper has got copy and paste material from so and so resources, so we are rejecting your paper. It doesn't happen like that now. Under the digital world, the things have changed a lot. And there are softwares, you might be aware that Authenticate and Turnitin. These are two very renowned software of the world. Most of the publishers are using Authenticate. Academic institutions are using Turnitin. And every publisher has got editorial body. In fact, editorial assistant to help the editor-in-chief and the editorial body. And that editorial assistant, the EIC editor-in-chief assistant, generates this Authenticate report, the plagiarism report. And along with the paper, on the dashboard of the editor-in-chief, these plagiarism reports and the percentage are also visible. And the moment editor-in-chief sees that, the moment he observes that the plagiarism level, means the similarity level in this paper is more than 30% overall, and maybe 10% from a single source, he takes a quick decision. No, I need not to review this paper. I need not to process this paper further. So the paper immediately gets rejected. So the first step is, once you are going to submit a paper, ensure that similarity index of that paper in any case should be less than 20%. Overall similarity index, overall plagiarism. I'm using the term here, plagiarism and similarity index, in interchangeable manner, but may differ. It is not always true that a high degree of similarity index always lead to high degree of plagiarism. Maybe little different also, but for the purpose of simplicity at this moment, I'm using the term interchangeable. So in general, because that is the rule book, so in general, when you are going to submit a paper to any good journal, you must understand that I should get it scanned through any software. At the time of scanning through any software, maybe in your university, maybe with the help of some of your friends, so ensure that store to repository, add to repository should remain unchecked. Otherwise, your paper which has been checked for the purpose of test scan will get added in the repository of that software, and next time when the publisher will check it, publisher will find 100% plagiarized paper. So ensuring that it is not being added to the repository, means the database of that software, you ensure that plagiarism level is less than 20%. And if it is less than 10%, very good. But if it is less than 20%, at least your paper will not get rejected outright. That is the overall plagiarism level. The second is plagiarism from a single source. If your paper has got more than 10% plagiarism similarity index from a single source, then also there is a possibility that the paper may get rejected. So from a single source, it should not be more than 5%. These are two fundamental thumb rule before submitting a paper into any journal. The moment this test scan is passed, the moment you qualify this scan, then the next comes whether the paper is within the scope of the journal or not. Now this decision editor-in-chief has to take. This decision will not be taken by the editorial assistant working for the editor-in-chief. This decision editor-in-chief has to take, and how to ensure that the paper which we have submitted is well within the scope of the journal. There are multiple ways to do that. And in order to ensure that the paper is within the scope of the journal, what the editor-in-chief will do, first you have to understand, because the entire process of review which editor-in-chief is supervising is basically a process of rejection. So he has to reject almost 90% of the papers, and then 10% of the quality papers automatically get accepted in the process. So while doing it, he will first go through the title. If from the title it is clear that yes, it is well within the scope of the paper, he will immediately proceed for the next step. But if the title doesn't give the clear picture, then he will go to the abstract. And if the abstract doesn't give the good picture about the scope of the journal, the paper is within the scope of the journal or not, then he will refer to the references. So the important thumb rule here, or the hint here, to ensure that your paper is not getting rejected outrightly from any of the journal, and you are not present but passively you are telling your editor-in-chief of the journal that my paper is well within the scope of your journal, is to ensure that at least you have read 10-20 papers already published in that journal from the same related to your domain, and at least refer 2-3 papers which are directly connected to your research in your publication, and cite them within your paper, refer them at the end in the references. So the moment editor-in-chief goes to and see the references from his or her own journal, he immediately realizes, oh yes, my own paper has been referred here. So there is no question of checking whether this paper is well within the scope of the journal or not. So immediately you will pass this step. Referring a few references from the past publication of that journal not only helps you to get the paper cleared for the purpose of scope of the journal, also helps the journal for the purpose of improving the citation. So that point also editor-in-chief most of the time takes care that yes, when 2-3 multiple papers from my own journal has been cited here, it is going to increase my citation. And definitely when they have been cited in the paper, the journal is well within the scope, the paper is well within the scope of the journal. So you will pass the second step, and the third step will come that whether the paper has sufficient technical content to be reviewed. And if you pass this step, then only the paper will finally go to the reviewers for the purpose of review, and then reviewers will review the paper. Now, what are the important attributes which a reviewer will review at the time of reviewing the paper? So there are multiple slides. I will not go into the detail of those slides. On this slide, I will conclude because now it around 6-7 minutes are left in starting the value session. So these 8 important points you must keep in mind. The first is plagiarism, that is similarity index report is more than 10% or major ethical compliance related issues. If any of such problem is found, your paper gets rejected. So this is the first common reason of getting paper rejected. So pay attention to this. I have already spoken on that. Second, prior papers in the same domain are not referenced. Why? I know the papers, I know the peer researchers also, I know the people working in my domain, I know few of very my known people have published paper. Sometime I have also published a paper in same domain earlier in some publication, but purposefully I have excluded that. I don't want to refer, because the moment I refer that paper in my own in this paper which I wanted to publish, possibly I will not be in a position to pass I is strictly greater than 0. So I have excluded that paper and then submitted a paper, understanding that the paper will get accepted. But friends, anyone who is going to review your paper is expert of the domain, and the moment he will apply a simple search technique, he will understand that there are 5 recent papers which Naik good evening. Just give me 5 minutes. So there are 5 good papers published in last 5 years which are directly connected with this paper, but the author has not referred that paper. So the reviewer will understand this author is not trustworthy, and either the author has not conducted exhaustive literature review, or the author has deliberately concealed the information. The paper will get rejected. So let's not do that. You should take pride in referring the papers of the fellow peer researchers or your own prior paper, and ensure that still this paper can qualify I is strictly greater than 0. The third important aspect, research methodology is not explicitly given in the paper. If you do not do that, friends, then possibly what happens, the moment paper goes to a reviewer may be an expert. He will ask his 2-3 researcher to take the paper and go through, read the research methodology, simulate the research methodology in the laboratory, and see to it that the same result is coming or not. If same result is coming, the scholars of the reviewer will come and tell the expert, sir, the same result is coming. So reviewer will become very happy. Oh yes, it's a good paper. Then you please read and tell me what are the problems in this paper. And he will also find a time to read the paper and submit a review. So you have to write research methodology in a way that if a third person wanted to simulate in his or her own lab, he should be in a position to simulate it using your data values in input data. He should be in a position to replicate or generate the same result. If this is not possible, and why it is not possible, most of the authors do not do that. Why? They are afraid of the fact that if I write my research methodology in a very self-verifiable manner, someone will conceal it and someone will publish a paper prior to me. If that you are afraid of that fact that someone will do this kind of mischievous activity, friends, please do not publish. First get it patented. When your patent is filed, then you start publishing it. So at least you are safe. No one else will do some mischievous activity. But on this account, if you are hiding your research methodology, you are not reproducing it in a self-verifiable manner, no publisher is going to accept your paper. Fourth, measured results are not presented, again because of the same fear factor that someone will steal it and publish a paper. So don't publish it. get it patented, and then come back for publications. Fifth is results are not a state of the art. If your result, fifth and sixth are, I will be taking up together. That if your results are not a state of the art or doesn't have a novelty, and that novelty has not been claimed, has not been supported by some suitable claims. The seventh point, this implies you are mistaken. Anyone and everyone has to understand first that anything which is already available in the public domain is not going to be a research work. That's something, if you are going to have at least the incremental addition, then only a research work. So pay attention that it should be at least there should be an incremental addition. And that novelty should be established with the help of some comparison table, with the help of some graph, and writing sentence like that this paper, this algorithm is significantly better, has got no meaning. You have to write that based on the table so and so, it is obvious that it is 3% better than so and so state of the art technique available in the domain. So then only the paper will get accepted. And the last point is, of course, poor grammar or poor use of English. We Indians keep on committing mistakes. So ask some of your friends who is literature from English, or maybe a third person who is a non-author, to read your paper and help you to understand that what are the common mistakes and how to overcome with these mistakes and how to write correct English. On this, I will conclude, because now my validity session is to start, and will request all the authors that at least whatever I could discuss with you, let's pay attention to this. I wanted to discuss, but there was no time. Thank you so much, and let's get ready for the validity session. Dr. Vishal.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for enlightening us, sir, how to write a quality good paper and what are the different perspective of editor-in-chief to review the paper. Thank you so much, sir. So before now we can start the validity session. We can have our eminent guests, Professor A.K. Nayak, sir, Professor K.K. Agarwal, sir, Dr. A.M. Murli Mohan, sir, Murli Rao, sir. Sir, should we start the session, sir?
Sir, Chief Agarwal sir has joined.
Yes, sir. Sir has joined, sir.
Oh, yeah, my window is very small. I could not see. Anyway, so yes, please start it.
So you can please close the sharing, sir.
Just a minute. Yeah, please.
A very good evening to all. I, Dr. Vishal Jain, welcome you all in a validity session of 2 weeks online faculty development program on emerging research trends in computer science and IT from 8th to 19th June 2020 in collaboration with IEEE Computer Society, Delhi section, Computer Society of India, and Indian Society for Technical Education, Delhi section during 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. by BVICAM, New Delhi. We started this program with the inauguration on 8th June 2020 by Professor Yogesh Singh, Vice Chancellor, Delhi Technological University, New Delhi. During this program, we conducted 20 sessions of 2 hours each in 10 days. Thank you very much to all the resource persons from the industry and the academia. In general, we have an inauguration on 8th of June. And on 8th of June, we have conducted a first session on mentoring teachers for effective virtual teaching. Second session was nature-inspired optimization and its application to complex engineering problems. On 9th June, we have conducted a deep learning techniques and applications and hands-on the Anaconda and the R tool. Second session of the day was next generation innovations and research opportunities and the challenges. On 10th June, we had a session on Industry 4.0 and Docker and Kubernetes. On 11th of June, we had a session on software-defined networks from the industry, and next section was virtual reality application development from King Saudi Arabia University. On 12th June, we had conducted one session on information security in 2020 and emergence of blockchain technology. On the same day, next session was new dimension of NAC accreditation. On the 15th of June, we had 2 sessions. First was the challenges of online digital learning globally. Second was Internet of Things approach and applicability in manufacturing. On 16th of June, we had applications of engineeristic fuzzy logic to decision making and data protection issues in medical imaging techniques. On 17th June, we had getting ready for an AI powered world and predictive computing techniques and applications. On the 18th June, we had a hands on data analytics using R and progression from machine to deep learning medical image analysis, where the speaker was from Malaysia. On the 19th June, we had conducted a session on AI and role of academia in the industry 4.0. During this program, we had more than 150 participants from different parts of India and the Saudi Arabia and many more countries. Thank you very much to all the participants for having their interest in the program. Before starting the program, I would like to ask the participants to share their experience during this program. If any participants would like to share their experience during this 2 weeks faculty development program, they can unmute their mic and say something.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Am I
ma'am.
audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sir. I would really like, first of all, I would really to thank BVI Chem New Delhi for conducting these workshops. And I really have lots of things to say about this workshop because this is the first time when I have been connected to so many people around the world and around the India, and the sessions were really very good, sir. This also helped me to enhance my knowledge regarding all the latest technologies because they're very tough. Uh, but after listening to so many speakers, now I am getting so much of idea about what can be taught in the class. And the best thing is like I can incorporate different technologies into one single lecture also if I want. Because if you go through anything, like we had a session on the technologies experienced by nature. So if you look at the nature also, you are able to find lots of technology that has been implemented or the idea had been taken from there. And I would also like to tell you that this is my second FDP from the same institution. I have also attended 1 week FDP earlier, and this is my second one because I really liked it so much. I was even overwhelmed to share this with Vishal sir through WhatsApp also. Sir, definitely I'd be attending another FDP from you. And sir, really so much. I mean, really so much thankful to you that I could get so much of insight, especially related to AI, machine learning, R, Python. So much of my doubts had been solved, and yes, I have found some resource people, those who will be helping whose help I will be seeking for my future research work because I have completed my PhD very recently in 2020. So I got my degree in February 20 itself. So I'm still a young researcher and I'll definitely seek their help. Thank you so much, sir, for providing such a good platform.
Thank
You
you
will
so
always,
much,
you
ma'am.
should always remain a young researcher, and congratulations for your PhD degree awarded recently.
Thank you, sir.
All the best to you.
Any other
Thank you.
participant would like to share?
Yes, I would like to share. Can I go
Yeah,
on?
please. Yes, please, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lakshmi from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. I think I'm one of the few participants from South India. And I would like to first congratulate and applaud the entire team. I'll go in the reverse order. Mr. Manish, Mr. Uttam, Dr. Vishal, and Professor Hoda for organizing a wonderful FDP. During this COVID time, where we learned how we could be more productive and we could make good use of time and knowledge that we have. The coordinators have upheld the name of the institution, I wish to say, Bharati Vidyapeeth. Uh, I know Bharati Vidyapeeth is renowned, well known, and the people are all experts there. But why I said they've upheld the name is little deeper. Bharat is known for integrity, commitment, discipline, and seva bhav. See that commitment I could see in the coordinators who seamlessly planned the sessions, selected wonderful topics from machine learning, IoT, Industry 4.0, digital twins, AI, VR, fuzzy logic, and also the NAC perspective of engineering education. Such wonderful topics were selected, and the choice of resource persons who told us about the research as latest as June 2020. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are audible.
So, I mean, this is how Indians should portray themselves. The sessions would start at 2:00 and 11:00 in the morning. It was excellent. It was an excellent experience. And I congratulate the entire team for their commitment and effort. It is not just an effort in the right direction, effort to the right magnitude. Thank you all. Technically, I've asked questions and cleared my doubts. They were all extremely good. These things also I wanted to express my heartfelt congratulations and applaud to the entire team. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being part of this 2 weeks FDP program. And you were the one of the active participant of the program, as you have asked number of questions from different speakers also. Thank you. So,
Sessions were so relevant, and I'm thankful to all the resource persons for giving clarity in whatever they had to tell us. Hats
yes,
off to them. And
yes,
hats
ma'am.
off to you for
Yes,
choosing such people for us. Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So now, without much ado, I would like to start the validity session of 2 weeks faculty development program by inviting Professor Amin Huda sir, Director BBICAM, for welcome address. Sir, please.
So, friends, very good evening to all of you. I have a very honored guest for me, but he's a fatherly figure for me, my inspiration, my source of strength for all the programs which I conduct in whichever platform. Honorable Professor K.K. Agarwal, sir, the presently Chairman, National Board of Accreditation, and former founder, Vice Chancellor, Guru Gobind Singh, Indraprastha University, where he has been Vice Chancellor for 2 terms, noted academician of the country, will be presiding over the today's validity session. I take the opportunity to pay him my deepest gratitude and thanks for having accepted my invitation. And the moment I request him, he never says no. He says, "Yes, faculty development program, faculty members will be there. I'm there." And I have my second honored speaker today, Professor A.K. Nayak, whom we CSI fraternity, who has been the immediate past president of Computer Society of India, and in CSI fraternity, we claim he's our big brother, elder brother, Bade Bhai. So, welcome you, sir, and thank you so much for having spared your valuable time and available here for sharing your experience with all the participants. I have today again Dr. Murli Rao, the chairperson of Computer Society chapter of IEEE Delhi section. Welcome, Dr. Rao. I have Dr. Ajay Thakre, the chairman of Technical Program Committee of IET. Welcome, Dr. Thakre. I have my own friend and the present president, Computer Society of India, Mr. R.K. Vyas. So, welcome, Mr. Vyas, to this validity session. Friends, when we started this program on 8th of June, we started on this particular note itself that change is inevitable. We have to change. And I have attended all sessions, and all the speakers in one or other way have sensitized you that the change is only constant phenomena. Let's accept changes upfront. Otherwise, the environment, the ecosystem, the kind of the competition in and around us will change us. And possibly we teachers from entire country India have shown our restraint to the world. The kind of the agility which we have, the kind of the adaptability which we have, because till 15th of March, none of us were using all these digital and learning platforms, maybe Zoom, maybe WebEx, maybe Office 365, and so on and so forth. But within no time, within a week time, we have changed from face-to-face learning to immediately a kind of digital and online learning. That itself shows we are adaptable, we are prone to changes, we accept what the changes are front, and that should be the continuous phenomena. If we remain agile, if we keep on accepting the changes in the same way, possibly we should not look back. The only factor will remain that how and in which quality way we are undertaking the processes, and the world will be we will be the leaders in the world. with this, I have already spoken about changes, the background of the FDP, and I'm sure the deliberations in last 10 days, which have been with the help of the senior resource persons from different parts of the country and abroad. There, I wanted to especially mention, I could see Professor Naseeb Singh Gill also, one of the speakers joining our session. Welcome, Professor Gill. So, 4 speakers on my special request have joined this FDP from other parts of the country. Dr. George from King Abdulaziz University, Saudi Arabia. Professor Gurdeep Singh Hura from University of Maryland, United States of America. You will appreciate when he took the slot of 2 p.m. It was 1:37, 1 a.m. midnight, and he spoke till 3:30, 3:40 midnight, and then he around 4 o'clock he went to sleep. That's the kind of commitment of the speaker. So Professor Hura from United States of America. Why I wanted these speakers? Because I wanted to sensitize to the participants that what are the changing practices happening across the world, across the globe, and in which way we have to change ourselves. Then I was having third speaker, Dr. Athar Ali from University of Buckingham, United Kingdom, and fourth speaker, Dr. Ibrahim from University of Technology, Malaysia. So we tried to bring some international exposure in this FDP and sensitize the participants that to which extent the academicians need to change our ecosystem, teaching learning ecosystem, so that in the changing environment we remain relevant, and we remain relevant also during COVID-19 pandemic. And that's how I cited this Bashir Badr की एक का एक शेर मैंने इनॉग्रेशन में बताया था कि जो ये तो कोई हाथ भी ना मिलाएगा, कोई हाथ भी ना मिलाएगा जो गले मिलोगे तपाक से, कोई हाथ भी ना मिलाएगा जो गले मिलोगे तपाक से, ये नए मिजाज का शहर है, जरा फासले से मिला करो. So changes की प्रैक्टिस के साथ जो हमने कुछ सीखा है, whatever we have learned in these 10 days, that we must carry in our institution. That experience we must share with our students into our classrooms. That experience we must not retain with ourselves only. We must also share with our colleagues in our respective institutions, with our fellow friends. Then only the purpose of this FDP will be fulfilled. That's how I keep concluding on this note that the after the FDP is over, if you do not find any significant takeaway from the FDP, then possibly no other attribute of the FDP should fascinate you. After FDP, no one will ask you that how good the speakers were, how good the organization was, how hospitable. That of course I could not offer you hospitality during this FDP, but how courteous the staff organizing the FDP was, how prompt and proactive the team was. These are not the parameters, friends, to judge the success or failure of any of the program, not only FDP. Finally, the parameter to judge the success or failure of any of the program, including this FDP, will be what was the takeaway. Whether this FDP helped us to change something in a different way, whether this FDP helped us to take our lecture in a little different way, whether this FDP helped us to undertake our research in a little more meaningful and significant way. If that is possible, that will be the takeaway, and that will decide that how successful the FDP was. And on this note, the entire process of teaching, learning, with which we are dealing on day in, day out basis, with which we are involved, we all teachers, is a process of bringing light from darkness, is a process of bringing knowledge from ignorance. So the moment I am talking of a process of teaching, learning, to bring light from darkness and to bring knowledge from ignorance, I am reminded of चार शेर एक बड़े शायर का कि उजाले अपनी आंखों में महफूज कर लो. When I am talking of उजाला, तो उजाले का मतलब ये है कि power of knowledge, the potential of the skills. So the power of knowledge must be retained as an integral component, as an embedded component. जैसे आंख हमारी एक integrated component है, embedded component है, ऐसे हमारी personality का पार्ट होना चाहिए, हमारी personality में internalize हो जाना चाहिए, और हमारे personality से वो fragrance of knowledge should get reflected. That poet mean here कि उजाले है अपनी, और अगर ये नहीं करेंगे तो जो इग्नोरेंस का, इलिटरेसी की वजह से जो चैलेंजेस, जो डिफिकल्टीज हमारे सामने होंगी, इट विल बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू फेस दोस डिफिकल्टीज, दोस चैलेंजेस बिफोर अस. सो द पोएट सेज दैट उजाले अपनी आंखों में महफूज कर लो, बड़ी दूर तक रात ही रात होगी, मुसाफिर हो तुम भी, मुसाफिर है हम भी, किसी मोड़ पे फिर मुलाकात होगी. Thank you so much, friends. Keep attending programs of Bharati Vidyapit. There are multiple programs. I have sensitized you that we publish a journal, and that journal link has been made available to you. You can refer the papers from the journals, and all those papers, though it is a subscription-based model, if you purchase and try to subscribe to a Springer, you will need to pay $6,000 for 1 year. If you want, if your library want to subscribe from us, the hard copy in India, Indian subscription is with us, and foreign subscriptions are with Springer. So 6,000 rupees library has to spend for 4 issues in our country, in India. But to all the members, to all the participants who have generated, who have attended this FDP, to all of you, I have shared the link. Using that link, you can download all the papers of the all issues, even the prior issues, free of cost. So utilize that opportunity, read papers, ensure that you encourage your friends to read papers, and contribute in this journal. And if at all at last you find the journal is useful, journal paper published in the journal is meaningful, do recommend subscription in your library. The individual subscription is not required. Anyone, I have given you access to free access to all the papers. Even if you want hard copy, write me a personal mail. If your mailing address, I will send you even the hard copy free of cost. But do, if you find it useful, this journal is useful, other your friends should also read it. So do recommend for its subscription into your library. This is a journal published by a Springer, but owned by our own Indian organization. Now we are talking of Atmanirbharta. So this is a journal published by our own institution, from our own country, and of course marketed by a Springer across the world. So take advantage of this. Thank you so much, friends. We'll meet again. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us and your motivation words. Today, we have great privilege to have Professor A.K. Nayak, sir, immediate past President, Computer Society of India, with us as a guest of honor of the validity session. He has worked with the IIBM as Administrator of Center for Instructional Material Development, funded and sponsored by Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, Government of India. Regional moderator, NCC Manchester, UK, expert, observer, and convener of DOIC, advisor and consultant to many organizations, member of Board of Studies, Research Committee, and Government Council of many universities and institutes, and external evaluator and visiting faculty of more than 35 international and national universities at bachelor, master, PhD, and MTech level. He has participated in designing and implementation of computer-related course curriculum for various universities and institutes. Authored and edited 21 books, out of which 12 books are of computer science and IT, as well as authored 81 articles and technical papers. Co-authored 43 papers, edited 3 newsletters, and proceeding of 7 national conferences and seminars. Conducted more than 40 executive development programs for the professionals of private and public sectors, and organized more than 65 national and international conferences and seminars, and presided technical sessions and delivered keynote addresses in many of them. Now I request sir to enlighten us with your knowledge and experience. Sir, please.
Honorable President of this validity session and certification program, the Honorable Chairman of National Board of Accreditation and founder, Vice Chancellor of Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, former National President of Computer Society of India, and former National President of Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineer, Honorable Professor Dr. K.K. Agrawal Sahib, our mentor, our guide, our teacher, and our well-wisher forever. the President of Computer Society of India, my younger brother, Dr. R.K. Bas, the most dynamic and vibrant and one of my most beloved younger brother, and everywhere people tells both of us as the younger brother and the elder brother, the visionary academician and very far-sighted director of the Bharati Vidyapith Institute of Computer Application and Management, Dr. M.N. Hoda, Honorable Mulli Raoji, Thakre Sahib, and research persons who have taken part in these 2-week faculty development programs, participants, and invited guests. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be part of this validity session and certification program organized by this great institution, Bharati Vidyapith Institute of Computer Application and Management, to whom I always treat one of the institution of excellence so far as the management, computer and information technology education are concerned. Many times I have also complimented, if you move to the south or north, or you move to the east or west, you can find Bharati Vidyapith is one of the best. So the 2-week faculty development program that has been organized, the recent trends in research trends in computer science and information technology, really a theme of very relevance, particularly in this period when India look towards to be self-confident. स्वावलंबी, जब हम भारत को स्वावलंबी बनाना चाहते हैं, हम एक आत्मनिर्भर भारत का परिकल्पना करते हैं. In this context, so definitely the research and development, the renovation and incubation, the startup and stand-up, these are the many factors which are very much core pillar for development of the country. On this situation, organizing such kinds of faculty development program, that to not only one but in the series, I must have to congratulate Professor M.N. Hoda for his contribution for the upliftment of the research and development, not only through the teaching and training, but recently just he was telling by the publication of a international journal, which is of a very high valued, high quality indexed journal, and that is being marketed by speaker. I must have to congratulate on the same occasion all the resource personnel and all the organizers, particularly Dr. Vishal Jain, as well as all the participants who have successfully completed their 2-week faculty development program, and today they are present at the validity session and they are going to be certified. Dear friends, as I have seen, the syllabus that has been designed in such an excellent manner. So to say, it has covered all the areas of concern where the recent research and development is required. It has, as I have seen, as you're observing, it has started from the first class mentoring the teachers to be acquainted with the virtual education, virtual learning, to the last class, the role of academia in Industry 4.0. Within that, many types of things have been discussed, which are the concern of the research. It is artificial intelligence, it is deep learning, it is IoT, it is fuzzy logic, it is the standard data network. Lot of things and contexts are quite rich. Where really we find the house, where really we find the home, the research can be carried off for accelerating and enhancing the concept in that related areas. When we had been the student, you say in the 80s, so we started our computing in the third generation computer. Particularly, I worked with the punch data and all these things. When we are thinking that a variable can be declared by a character followed by a digit. But you see what happens in 1956 when the second generation computer launched, the people have started with the scientific data processing in the research laboratories, IITs and defense locations and many ISRO and many scientific locations where very few amount of data were there, but large volume of computation and complexity of the computation had been there. Fortunately, the artificial intelligence has been incepted along with the second generation computer in 1956 with the introduction of the first export system, that is the uh, that is the medical export system in United States of America. It got empowered. Artificial intelligence has raised its domain, and it has been spreaded like anything. Whether you take that is further development, voice synthesis, or information technology, or ICT, or image processing, or different level of data management, big data, and all these things where we have need today, we see there is the direct involvement of the artificial intelligence. Today we are talking of the business intelligence, we are talking of the computational intelligence, we are talking of the artificial emotional intelligence, which is of very latest concern based with the signal processing concept. So if you do all these things, these are the typical application and advanced applications of the artificial intelligence. You see what in tremendous manner happened. We dealt with the limited, very isolated data in the scientific computing. 17, we came with the huge data for the business computing. So proper data organization, file management system evolved. And the tremendous exponential growth in the data happened due to the business competition. 80, we came to the database management, 90, relational database management, 2000, data mining, data warehousing, big data in 2010. Today we are talking of the data science. Why my point of talking of all these things are there? Because the thing is that what topic has been considered for this faculty development program, that is the research trends in the computer science and information technology, and this is the real time that is there where we'll have to look forward, and India should take a lead so far as the research and development is concerned. If you want to see the country is a self-dependent, self-reliant, as well as a self-confident country. Particularly the recent development, what happened, what thing is that the pandemic, that corona, which had made us to be self-dependent in many things. Previously, the people are not giving much importance to the e-learning. We are thinking that our traditional learning, the active learning, where e-learning can be treated as a passive learning, as a supplement and complement to the traditional learning. But today what happened, this situation has compelled to us so that we will have to go towards the e-learning, and perhaps the recommendation of the UGC that the major thrust will be given on the e-learning in the day to come. That, as it has been told, necessity is the mother of invention. So definitely in that way one has to move, and the trends in the research trends in the computer science and IT should have to be gear up, and it should be accepted by the young professional and the young scientists and the young faculty members the days to come. I do remember Swami Vivekananda had told in one of his literature to the youth masses, every baby born with infinite potentiality. But it depends on him how much potential he becomes able to convert into the kinetic form. Swamiji has told every cover is uncovered when it is discovered. प्रत्येक आच्छादित चीज तब उन्मूलित हो जाता है जब हम इसको आविष्कार कर लेते हैं. I must have to urge the young professionals, the young professionals who have participated in the 2-week faculty development program. That means you will have to explore your talent, you will have to recognize your talent, you will have to recognize your potential, and carry forward the research and development in the field of information and computer technology, so that it will make India, it will establish India as a leader in the global context. That is my sincere request to all the professionals. And I do believe you have gathered very good quantum of knowledge during the 2 weeks of the program. And definitely, my teacher and our philosopher guide and mentor, Dr. K.K. Agrawal, will be definitely show you the way, and definitely his speech will be most beneficial for you, that can give you the light to direction to where you will have to move. इसलिए भगवत गीता में एक कहावत है, जज्जदा चरति श्रेष्ठा तत्तदा इतरे जना सहज प्रमाण कुरुते जना तदनुवर्तते। अर्थात महज्जन जो बोलते हैं, बड़े लोग जो बोलते हैं, विद्वजन जो बोलते हैं, हम आप जो लोग होते हैं, विशेष करके हम चाहूंगा जो यंग मासेस हमारा ये है, दे विल बी गेटिंग बेनिफिटेड from the the experience, long experience of our president of this occasion, Honorable Dr. K.K. Agrawal. That is why I have told, Jajjada Charati Shrestha Tattada Itare Jana Sahajat Praman Kurute Jana Tadan Vartate. अर्थात महागण देन गतस्य पंथा, वो जो रास्ता दिखाते हैं, जो पथ दिखाते हैं, जो मार्ग दिखाते हैं, वो मार्गदर्शन हमारे लिए सराहनीय होता है, वो पथ हमारे लिए अनुकरणीय होता है. So I do believe the time is there. You will have to enhance your research and development capability. You should have your own innovation, and you should have to be ready to take the challenges where the future challenges are to come. How we can make the country a self-confidence so far the research and development is concerned. And one of the things I will have to tell, there are so much advanced computing concept we are talking of today, but it is the real time of integration of the computing technology. You tell we are having the things like this. We started from the high-speed computing, embedded computing, to cloud computing, so a lot of concepts, smart computing, quantum computing, that atomic computing, molecular computing, all these things are there that having the different applications of the artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I have seen also the R programming, and all these things are the content of your syllabus of the 2 days faculty program. But what the thing is there, this is the need of the time, this is the demand of the time, how integration of these advanced computing technologies can be get together, and particularly that to carry forward to the country, and the responsibility of the academia, not only to explore the research and development of the academic temperament or the academic enhancement, rather one of the important topics that has been discussed within your curriculum, Industry 4.0, we are having the responsibility and we should have the significant contribution in the research and development, how this Industry 4.0 will be achieved very optimally in a country like India. With these few words, I once again request you all, let us come forward, let us have some innovation, let us have some research capability, and let us have some advanced trends that should be shown by you in the field of research for the benefits of the mankind, particularly the great masses of the country like India, where there is a great digital divide, and 70% around people are living in the rural area and 30% in the urban area, and how our research and innovation will be helpful to bring the information technology for the benefit of the masses, for the benefit of the common man.
Is not able to join because of some emergency. You are aware that in Delhi, the corona cases are increasing manifold, and he's a practicing doctor. So Delhi government, in collaboration for coming week and coming month. So for that purpose, he is on roads, moving from one place to other place, visiting hospital. But he has expressed his best wishes to all the participants, and in any other program, he will join with us. That's all from my side. Dr. Vishal, you may move forward.
Thank you so much, Nayak sir, for enlightening us with your knowledge and the wisdom words. Today we have great privilege to have Professor K.K. Garwal sir with us as a chief guest of the valedictory session. Sir obtained his Bachelor of Engineering degree from Punjab University and Master degree from NIT Kurukshetra. Later, he did his PhD from NIT Kurukshetra. In 1975, he rose to the level of professor at an age of 27 and a half years, probably the youngest person in the world to have achieved this level. Currently, he serves as a Board of Governors, IIT Patna, a member of UPSC Committee on Restructuring IAA Preliminary Examination, also a member of HRD Task Force on Faculty Availability in Higher Education Institutions and Performance Appraisal of Teachers. After a distinguished service of 27 years at NIT Kurukshetra, Sir served as a Pro Vice Chancellor, Guru Jambheshwar University, Hisar, for a period of 3 years, and then as a Founder Vice Chancellor of Guru Gobind Singh Intrust University, Delhi, for a period of 10 years. He has been president of the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, IETE, for the period of 2002 to 4. President Computer Society of India from 2007 to 2009, and President of Southeast Asia Regional Computer Federation SEA-RCC from 2008 to 10. Sir has published approximately 400 papers in reputed journals and conferences, about 50% of these papers in international journals. He has been widely consulted by the industry, most notable being his contribution towards the reliability analysis for TSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. He was conferred the honorary fellowship by Broadcast Society of India. He was decorated with Lifetime Achievement Award by IETE and also by Computer Society of India. He has been associated with NBA in various capacities since its inception and was chairman EEAC Tier 2 before taking over charge as chairman NBA on 14th January 2019. I heartily welcome you, sir, at Bharati Vidyapit Institute of Computer Applications and Management. Now I request, sir, to please enlighten us with your knowledge, sir. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Vishal, for the nice words. I'm so happy to be here on the conclusion of the valedictory function of the FDP, 2 weeks FDP. Professor A.K. Nayak, immediate past president of Computer Society of India, and a very dynamic professional in the field of computer science and information technology. Even during the last year when he was president, Computer Society itself could conduct probably record number of activities which has never been done before. So I think as a fraternity of computer science, we owe to him the great service which he has done to the profession. Friends, Professor Huda, who is the steering force behind this faculty development program and all such programs, has been one of our Indraprastha University's one of the most dynamic directors. But more than that, his quest for multiplying the talent, his quest for making more and more faculty more and more equipped academically is something which really impresses me, which I really value the most. Because as a teacher, your primary duty is to multiply the data. And FDP is one such mechanism by which he is doing it and very successfully doing it. My compliments to him. I would have loved to see my younger brother, Professor Mahesh Verma, here today, but then he is on to a larger social cause. So we have to sort of accept his absence from this program in the greater cause to the society. Dr. Vishal Jain, probably the most dynamic faculty with this institution. And I have seen him grow, and I think that impresses him. That impresses me, because that is one case which proves that if you want to grow, number one. Number two, by God's grace, if you can have a mentor, then nothing in the world can stop. These are the two essential conditions, I think. I mean, in the absence of these conditions, also God will be there to help you. But if you can get a good mentor, and if you decide with a firm determination, I will grow, I think to stop anybody is very, very difficult. Vishal is an example of that. My congratulations to him, and convey to all the faculty attending this program, teaching is a career which, according to me, is a God's blessing given to us, and see what best we can make use of it. And I think faculty development program also gives you an opportunity for this. Dr. Murli Rao, I met him last time also. Dr. R.K. Vyas, the current president of the Computer Society of India, and taking it ahead. Dr. Ajay Thakre, I was with him this morning on another program of IETE. That's the beauty of online thing. He's at his home, I am at my home, but we are met in Mumbai, we are meeting in Delhi. So that's the beauty of this, and I'm happy that many people are able to join it. Friends, having said this, I have seen the program for these 2 weeks, which has been organized very successfully, which I find from some of the chat messages of the participants as I was speaking, or even earlier than that. Some of the teachers who have come again for the faculty development program speaks for the sort of merit in the faculty development program conducted by the institute. Otherwise, nobody will come twice, because the country has so many programs now that you always have a choice to attend. So if you are coming here again, that means you really feel that there's a merit in the program, and that makes me very, very pleased. For the first time, I think Professor Hoda has been able to get so many foreign speakers into the program. Nothing, it doesn't make that much of a difference in that sense, but somebody from abroad gives a different perspective to the whole thing. For example, we are very new to the online education. They are not that new. They have many of the good universities there have been doing online education for quite some time. Some of the practices which we have started here have been they have been doing for so many years. So that new dimension, that new perspective comes from those foreign speakers, and therefore that must be a value add for the faculty which is attending this faculty development program. And I think it's a new dimension added, and a good dimension. The topic of the faculty development program which Dr. Hoda chose, emerging research trends in computer science and information. Now, the field of computer science and information technology is changing so fast, I really do not know. Can we really discuss emerging trends? Because when we plan something, it looks like emerging. When we execute it, it has already emerged. So that's the kind of scenario in computer science. Nobody expected many things to have happened so fast, which have happened. So in that sense, it's a bold topic that we try to extrapolate the future, where the rate of future is much faster than the rate of my imagination. Now, if the rate of growth of future is higher than the rate of imagination of human mind, then it really requires great, courageous effort to try to predict the future. But nonetheless, we have to. Hello? We have to try and do that to take ourselves into future studies, future discussions. So I'm happy that an attempt is being made here. The rate of explosion of knowledge has never been faster than this in the history of civilization, entire history of civilization. Very fast, fastest ever. And added to this, COVID has made it accelerated many times. The rate of change, which was already very high in society, much more high in computer science and information technology, has been suddenly increased many times because of COVID in all fields of knowledge. And therefore, if I put all these three factors together, really indices where will computer science and information technology go is mind-boggling. But nonetheless, we have to sort of try and see what best we can do under the circumstances. Friends, I looked at the topics which you have discussed during these 10 days. You have a topic on nature-inspired optimization. Well, I think, friends, nature-inspired optimization, yes, has been a relatively recent phenomena explored, although phenomena has existed for sort of centuries or beyond centuries, but exploration and giving it the science of optimization is new. I think COVID has taught us it is not only nature-inspired optimization which is important. I think nature-inspired lifestyle is important. We have to really try and see how the nature functions and try to simulate or manufacture engineering systems as close to the nature's style of functioning to keep harmonious working with the nature. Because we have seen over last century or so, whenever we have gone beyond the wishes of the nature, the COVID is the result. So now we have to start learning that we work in harmony with the nature, and there is enough to do that. I mean, even to understand how the information flow in a human body takes place, I think thousands of computer scientists are required for several years to decipher that. How the information flow exactly is happening in the human body from one point to another point, and how the decisions are being taken. We are nowhere nearer that even still. And so it's not only nature-inspired optimization, I think it's nature-inspired complete lifestyle which has to be the need of the day. How the teams work. When if you ever closely study the ants, how do they carry food? They carry tons of food, numbers ranging into billions, but nobody knows how they are doing it. I read somewhere to cross a river, some ants even start flowing in a sequential chain to make a bridge so that other ants can go over them to take the food to the other side of the river. That's the technology which they have. That is the team working which they have. The birds flow in a V-shaped formulation. The leader has to fly very fast, so he gets tired fast. Now, if it continues, then obviously the whole group will be slow. I mean, in a fraction of a second, the leader comes behind and somebody from row 2 becomes the leader. We don't even notice it till we really study the pattern. And in our phenomena, if the leadership has to change, I think the whole world is shaken. If you have to change the director of an institution or the vice chancellor of a university or the leader anywhere, I think the process is so complicated, while in nature, it happens so naturally. Our nature system had it. In our household, the leader of the house was never elected, was never defined, was never designated. It was understood it is. So, how the team working really happens, how flexibility is really incorporated, how leadership is really translated, all these examples which we in technology are still struggling, I think we have to please learn from nature, not only optimization, but the complete lifestyle to take it further. I also saw there was another very interesting topic on complex engineering problems. As a matter of fact, this is one of the 12 graduate attributes in our list of graduate attributes in National Board of Accreditation. Solution of complex engineering. And by and large, we find this is the toughest thing to evaluate. Even when the Washington team was here 3 months before, they said, sir, your institutions lack in solution of complex engineering problems. Because we make it so simple. Let me remind you and affirm to you, complex problems need not always have a complex solution. Many complex problems in life have very simple solutions. But you have to learn to attend to the complexity, to tackle to the root of complexity, and then find the solution. I can give you thousands of examples. There is a very complex looking problem, ultimately at a very simple solution. So I think this is one field which we must open to our students, that let's think of real problems and let's think of solutions. Some of them may be simple, some of them may be complex. Then we can discuss, we can do that. Online education has been accepted now. And as I said earlier also, and I'll keep on saying, this is a very good means of education, but this is not a panacea for everything. There are some situations which it will be very ideal. For example, faculty development programs, I think online education could be a very ideal. Because in faculty development programs, your aim, and particularly faculty development programs which are not very topic specific. If you have a faculty development program on artificial intelligence, it's a different matter, because then you want to go into the depth of it. But if you have a faculty development like this, where you want to cover many topics, and then the faculty will choose for themselves which is the topic of their choice. For such a scenario, where you want breadth of knowledge, online education could be an ideal platform. And I believe even in the future, even after post-COVID, our faculty development programs or all such refresher programs, teacher-centric programs, which need more breadth can be on online mode, which need more depth can be on face-to-face mode, and that can save a lot of human resources for us. Friends, you also had sessions on Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. I don't know, I personally have always believed, why did we never call AI as augmented intelligence? Why did we call it artificial intelligence? Because I believe ultimately the human intelligence, which is supplemented by machines, it is not a replacement of machine. And artificial intelligence became relevant today because of the big data sciences which we have. Without big data sciences, artificial intelligence did not have really a place. Finally, friends, I thought, because you're all teachers who are attending this faculty development program, whenever a virus comes to our computers, we say, okay, remove the virus. And we do something to remove the virus. But if the virus is very stubborn, then we reformat the system. That is the only solution. I think COVID has come as a virus to the society. It has come a very stubborn virus to the society. And it's an opportunity for us to reformat some of our systems. And it is good time that we look at that reform. Education system could be one. We have to go for blended learning, that everybody says, and I agree. But let's talk about examination. I really could not find a piece of paper or a research paper where it is written that every theory examination at the end of every semester must be of 3 hours duration. And with all the academics at the command of my little knowledge, I can't justify what is the sacrosanct idea of this 3 hours theory. Why can't we decide which subject requires examination in which manner? Incidentally, I read a piece of paper, very interesting. He says this 3 hours examination phobia is costing the country, I'm not talking the world, country, 6.6 crore trees every year. 6.6 crore trees every year have to be uprooted to produce paper for preparing answer books for examinees to answer these 3-hour question papers all over the country. And most of you will hear me out. If the student is lucky, the answer book receives the attention of examiner for 10 minutes. If he is not that lucky, it might receive 2 minutes. And that is so. Now, is it an ideal method of examination? Can't we think of better methods of examination and nature-inspired methods of examination? So I think this is a time when we can look to all these things as to what can we do. Research, friends. We have been talking about research and going into depth and depth. We believe it is necessary. But now the world is saying we need researchers who are more knowledgeable, who are more appreciative of the concept rather than mere depth of a subject. So all my young faculties attending this faculty development program, I'll say, please go into research, deep into your subject, but at the same time, please appreciate several subjects in the peripheral area because they will be needed for you to solve the problem. A single discipline knowledge has never solved a problem, never solved a real life problem. Only examination problems are solved by single subject. Only in the examination it says invert this matrix and give the inverted matrix. Only in the examinations you say solve this differential equation. Life does not give you a differential equation. You look at any system. The system does not have a differential equation written on it, which you can solve. So every system is very complex. You need several subjects to solve it. So the young faculty who are attending this program, when you are developing into researchers, please research in your area. Please keep aware of several subject areas, and please keep your eyes and ears open. Be a very real observant observer of the nature. Sir C.V. Raman was not the first scientist who saw the water is blue, but discovered Raman spectroscopy, got the Nobel Prize on this. Professor Newton had to sit at home for 1.5 years during the lockdown in 1665. While he was sitting idle in the courtyard, in the back courtyard of his house, he saw an apple falling and discovered the law of gravitation. Had it not been locked down, he would all of a sudden been running to the lab, may not have seen an apple falling, and discovered the law of gravitation. So what I'm trying to say is a good researcher, a fundamental researcher, and more so in subjects like computer science and information technology, which are changing so fast, please develop yourself holistically. Computer science is not even a complete subject. You need it to be applied to several situations. And do that, and this faculty development program will probably lead to many changes in society, many changes in research, many changes in I certainly foresee a situation where the students will design their own degrees and come to you. Please help me with this degree, otherwise I don't want to. The examinees may have a right to say, well, I don't want to take examination today. I like to take it tomorrow. And you will have to take it. The examinees may have a right to say, well, tomorrow there was a broadband disconnection, so I am not held responsible for this. Have my re-examination. So on and so forth. So many things will change. Let's prepare ourselves for all these disruptions. And it is always best to think during the peacetime and then be ready for the wartime. One of the troubles which I find is we start thinking during wartime and then we are in a hurry to evolve. Let us simulate some situations. Let us simulate the calamities. I read a book which said crisis trained companies do better financially. Crisis prepared companies do better financially. That's a book. So crisis will always come in the society. So let us prepare ourselves, simulate the situations. Peacetime is the best time to think of solutions for the wartime. Let's do that, and I hope this faculty development program has given you enough food for that, as is evident. And finally, friends, Professor Huda said the takeaway from the faculty development program must be your potential as a teacher has to become better. It's not Professor Huda's potential or his colleagues' potential or resource person's potential. Your potential as a teacher has to become better. I don't know, with the permission of Professor Huda, I would like to suggest in next 6 to 8 months, you can send an email to Professor Huda. Well, during this 1 year, I could do something XYZ, which I could not have done without the faculty development. So that those kinds of mails will further inspire Professor Huda's team to design still better programs. With these words, I thank Professor Huda, Dr. Jain, to have me a part of this valedictory and wish all the very best to the young teachers who have been attending it so seriously. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. These words gives us very motivative words for to do lots of activities in the academics. So now I request to all the respected guest members and Professor M. N. Oda sir, Director Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Application and Management, for giving the collective certificates to the participants.
Very good.
Yeah, so the certificates are there in your email IDs through Google Drive.
So all the participants will check their mails. After 5 minutes, it will be delivered to your inbox. My team, Mr. Manish, has already sent the certificates to you. You will get in by next 5 minutes in your inbox. So, sir, should I close the session?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so participants, we are closing the session, not closing the networking. This is the era of networking. Get networked or be ready to get perished. And as suggested by Honorable Professor K.K. Agarwal sir, you are most welcome to send your suggestions, your feedback, and above all, how did this FDP change your day-to-day life? How did this FDP help you in your personal and professional life? So your valuable input will be useful. You can send me on my mail ID, please. And it will be unfair on my part if I do not thank my team, which has got these three core members, Dr. Vishal, Mr. Manish, and Mr. Uttam. Most of the time, me and Vishal are visible. Manish or Uttam is not visible. But this is the team who works almost 12 to 14 hours a day to make the experience worth cherishing, make the experience better and better. And every time we try to innovate, we try to learn from the past experiences and make it better. So thank you so much. And this is wherever you see is all successful, that is the credit goes to these three people. And wherever you feel there have been some shortcomings, there have been some deficiency, to that credit you can attribute to me as head of this team. So thank you so much, and we'll meet again. The purpose is to remain networked, purpose is to remain connected. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to my Honorable K.K. Agarwal sir, my Bade Bhai Professor Naik, and heads of professional societies, Professor Vyas, Professor Ajay Thakre, and many more other guests like a speaker, Professor Naseed Singhil, head of IEEE Computer Society chapter, Dr. Murli Rao, and other valued speakers, participants from different parts of the country and abroad. The program would not have been successful if such a lovely participant from different parts of the country, almost 35 plus participants would not have it. And rightly said by Agarwal sir that for FDP, this online mechanism for such a topic which we have chosen, this is the most appropriate method. This is the most appropriate digital learning method. Otherwise, how can you have 150 participant, 145 to 150 participant in one FDP, right, from all parts of the country and abroad is practically impossible. Only this online and digital learning can bring us together. The speakers from 4 different countries, right from Saudi Arabia to Malaysia to United Kingdom to United States of America, and they all are talking and interacting. So only this technology can make that to happen. So thank you so much, and stay safe, stay healthier. Let's say that the way we have been agile, shown to the world our strength, we are also showing to the world our strength that we know how to fight with the corona, how to fight with this kind of pandemic, and how to still remain healthier. So all the best to all of you. Thank you so much.
So before ending the session, I would like to give my sincere thanks to Professor Amanoda sir for giving us the opportunity to conduct this FDQ. A special thanks to IEEE Delhi section, Computer Society of India, Indian Society for Technical Education for having technical collaboration with us and having faith with us. This is to kindly inform to all the participants that we are sharing your certificate at your email. You will receive the certificate in the soft copy at your inbox very soon. Thank you very much to all the respected members and the participants for having their interest in the FDP program. Thank you.